And our focus today is on someone in an amber state. And so what we're going to be really paying attention to is the person we're concerned about. And then pick your mirror up and look at ourselves, because one of the biggest issues in creating amber state support is that when I have someone I'm with who causes my brain to have either a sense of being threatened or a sense of pleasure, or that I'm not getting my needs met, what ends up happening is I myself am at very high risk of going into an amber state automatically, autonomically, and it is really difficult to pull yourself out of an amber state when you're still in the situation that generated the amber state. And then, so we have the person we're most concerned with, we have ourselves, and then everyone in the environment has the potential to go into an amber state. And what we tend to think of, oh, no, she's a diamond. But what will happen is someone who is in a diamond state, when they are pushed and pushed and pushed by someone in an amber state, doing what the diamond thinks is not right, not okay, shouldn't be happening, that diamond will automatically flip into that amber state of, I can't tolerate this. You need to do something about her. This is, and the hands may come out and the jaw will clench, and they may go over and do something they would never, and I mean never, have considered doing at all. But they flipped gears and they went straight from diamond, emerald, amber. And it was that fast. And we missed our cue that they were reaching their tolerance point. And so this amber state thing is really tricky, because almost always when there's one amber who is getting into either a distress state, or they're finding pleasure in what they're doing, and what they like is intense, or what they like is minimal but constant, people around them will start to experience distress. So it could be as simple as in the background, which you think, yeah, I mean, she's just doing it, it's not a big deal. But when it lasts for an extended period of time, many people simply can't cause it to be white noise for them. And it becomes like, hey, can you get her to stop doing that? So typically for me, when we talk about engaging ambers, I get called in when more than one person has reached that point of, you got to do something. I mean, she yells, help me, help me, help me, help me. And when you go there, she can't tell you what she wants. She don't even know what she wants. I mean, when she's there, she wants you there. And then when you get there, she's quiet for a few minutes, and then it's a help me. And you're right there. You're right there. So I'll pause. What do you notice about me when I'm in that state of describing my situation to the Teepa who came in here to help? What do you notice about me?
Your voice is going up. Your words are, you're running your words. Your speech is very different from what it would normally be. Your speech.
Give me the simplified version. What's the simplest statement you could make about me?
You're frustrated.
That's an emotion. Yep.
Agitation.
You can't get your thoughts together, correct? You can't.
Definitely. I'm having trouble with that. I have one thought, sort of. It's not really a thought.
So you're tunnel visioned.
I'm way past tunnel vision.
You're reacting.
I'm very strongly reacting. So give me an overall statement.
agitation, you're agitated,
And that's you're absolutely right. I am definitely I am like
Stress.
you're unable to self-regulate in that moment.
I absolutely am not. I am not able to self-regulate in that mode. You're absolutely correct. Simplify it.
You're panicking.
Help me, help me, help me. She just says that over and over. Help me, help me, help me. And you try to, and you can't even get her to, oh, she won't shut up. And then you sit there and she goes, help me, help me, help me, help me. And she doesn't even listen for an answer.
Anxious?
No,
No.
I'm an Amber.
I was
You're
gonna
an
say,
Amber.
you're an
When
Amber.
I get asked to come into a situation, by the time anybody asks me to come in, guess what? Everybody's Amber about it. I mean, as soon as they start talking about it, as soon as they start describing it, as soon as they start doing anything, they can only see it from their perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally have no other ability, and they either have sensory intolerance, absolute sensory intolerance, or they are in such high distress themselves, they feel that she's endangering people. We can't have him doing this, because everything becomes dangerous. So what's happening is, by the time I get asked to see somebody, it is rare that I am getting asked to see somebody when folks are simply annoyed by someone. I don't get asked then, because people do what with annoyance? Here she goes again. I wish you would quit that. Man, it is so annoying. Let's try something else. Let's try something else. Give her something to eat. Maybe if you give her something to eat, maybe you could get her down to go down to the. So we try throwing things like, this is like somebody's in a cage at the zoo, and we try throwing things in the cage to see if we can get them to be okay. And what we are not thinking is, so they must feel like they're trapped in a cage somehow. I mean, it must be like they're on display, they're an animal in a cage, and they don't have what they're looking for. And it's starting to feel like, and so what we've missed is evidence that their distress state is going up, or their excitement state is going up. Now, guess who I do not get to ask to see hardly, well, pretty much ever, unless I have a really super insightful group of people or individual.
And Amber not in distress?
Oh, even more.
Sapphire?
Quiet Amber?
Uh-huh. I never get to see the Ambers who need more support in order to do very much. So these are the people who get lost in the woodwork. These are the folks who fade quietly because they aren't active, they aren't noisy, they aren't moving, they aren't getting into things, they aren't intrusive, they're just quietly fading away, losing their abilities, losing their language, losing their motor skills, losing their fine motor and gross motor abilities, losing their visual motor integration skills, because they're not high need people. They're not high need, and they're okay just being. And so they get left for extended periods of time. But that's not on people's, it's very rarely on folks' radar, the low need people and the high tolerance people who have high tolerance for just about anything and low need. That's rare that somebody says, wow, we really need to come up with a care plan that's going to get them engaged, because guess what? Help me, help me, help me, help me. Yeah. We get distracted by the people who have high need and low tolerance. And so what ends up happening is these are folks that will fall by the wayside and will actually lose abilities in a sort of an advancing situation. And they shouldn't. There's no reason they need to, but we get so distracted by others, we won't notice until we realize, wow, I mean, she's getting harder to help get up. But still we can do it. We just get two people. She doesn't fight. She doesn't resist. She's really easygoing. So we just keep offering more and more support, but we don't really look at how are we engaging this woman? Because she doesn't seek it out. She's not she, it could be either way, but we just have this low. And so that's really important for me, because often when I go into an environment, we have all these high intensity folks, which is not just the person who classically is deemed the one who is in an amber state. What I have often is a lot of people who are classically more diamond-like, but when they're around the amber and they've been with the amber for a bit, ooh, wow. There is no ability in that moment to be really thoughtful and it's not just diamond. I mean, they are really struggling with their own level of intense reaction. And by the time I get called, often these are, I will say, the worst scenario is when it's a large, younger male with frontal temporal dementia, and they are intolerant of intimate care. They're intolerant of being restricted to a certain area and not doing certain things. They are not participating in a way people find okay in groups. They are people who family members aren't sure what to do with, because what they do is so out of the history book for this person that they can't see them as their family member anymore. And so it's distressing. What's happening is very distressing. And by the time I'm asked to do something, frequently, at least 3/4 of the people around them, whenever they're around them, they immediately go into their own amber state. And so folks will say, well, so I may find 1 or 2 people that are interested in changing things, but there are so many individuals in the environment that for the person don't like them anymore. They don't want to be around them. I've tried everything. There's nothing you can do. There's just nothing you can do. There's nothing is going to work, because you know what? As soon as you fix that, something else will go. It's like, whoa, or whatever. Talk to somebody else about it. So what ends up happening is, no matter what we try to come up with at that point, guess what? It can't happen, because we have too many people who have gotten into this amber habit. And it's just an autonomic reflexive habit of, as soon as they see the person coming, the visual cue of seeing the person, automatic, watch her, she's going to try to get in. So from across the room, Teepa, oh my God, Teepa, no, don't, oh God, Teepa. And so if you watch, so I sort of observe the environment, and it's like I watch for the voices. So what it says is they already are dropping through the gem states. So when they're not getting what they want as a diamond, that Teepa, the next thing is, oh, God, here she goes again. Who's supposed to have her? And so they'll shoot out and forget everything about approach, and they'll automatically start trying to deal with it. But now we're in an emerald state. And by the time they're close within arm's reach, what gem state are we in? Full out amber. And without realizing it, stronger, more reflexive. And they'll often then say, I'll need help over here. You know how she is. And then when people are going in, we're going in hot. So that idea. So I want to bring that up to start with, because if we can't start to get a handle on this and deal with this before we're already to that place of no return with too many players in the field, what we're going to end up with, it doesn't really matter what we come up with as an engagement plan. Folks will simply see it as a Band-Aid. Because there's too much intense reaction. So it puts us in a really rough spot. So what I think is the missing piece, and what I try to do, is assess, really looking at assessment when folks are even in diamond state, really looking at their sensory need profile and their sensory intolerance profile. Because if I can sort of notice that at diamond state, when someone is in a diamond state, it's sort of preset, and I can anticipate when they move to amber, ooh, this is going to tend to be something that's difficult. So if they have a very slim diet of things they like. Like there isn't very much. There aren't very many people. There aren't very many places. There aren't very many activities. There aren't. And so I've got this little tiny box for what someone in a diamond state really enjoys. I already know, oh boy, when we're moving forward through emerald and into amber, there's a high probability we better get really, really good at these. And we've got to be really careful about everything else. So let's get going. So what I'm going to do first is show you a video clip of me. And what we're going to do is take a look at me and see what you think of my intensity and Melanie. So let's see what y'all think about this. This is sort of a simulation, but just sort of let's take a look at it. Hey, that's nice. Good morning. Good morning. How's it feel to say good morning?
Good morning to you and you and do. Good morning. Oh, I'm glad. That's good. Yeah. This one here. Oh, well, that's better. That one's much better. Much better. Much better. Hey, Teepa. Yeah. There you go. See all those? That's neat. Yes. See there?
All right. What'd you notice about Teepa? What kind of things did you notice about her?
No eye contact.
Not a lot of eye contact with Melanie. Where was the eye contact?
On the objects in front of her.
On objects. So so take your binoculars. So she is, do this. She is a seeker. She is a seeker. Now, what you guys will call her is a hunter or a klepto, because not only is she a seeker with her eyes, she is classic Amber that once she sees something that she
Gonna touch, pick up. Yeah.
that she thinks she might like, that attracts her eye, she automatically goes with her hand. She will go with her hand like that. Any safety awareness with it?
No.
Yeah, none at all. But does she get more interested with her eyes and her hands than with her feet?
Yes, it seems like she's not really paying attention to where she's walking. She's just more focused on what's in front of her where she can see.
How far out did she reach to get the cup on the thing?
It was right in front of her, right in her tunnel vision.
Yeah, it was right there with the binocular vision. However, she reached way, we're going to look at it again. Watch her lead. Watch how much she kept her feet planted and just moved her upper body. Because she was really into the fine motor stuff and into the eye hand thing. Now, how many things did she see? Count them up. How many did she see? We'll see how many you come up with. Just hold on to it. We'll go back and look at it again. What did you notice? Okay, you got some? Okay, what were some characteristics of the things she saw? What were some characteristics of them? Think about that. What were some features or characteristics of them?
There were things she could pick up and move around.
They were things that could be manipulated in some fashion. So they were things you could manipulate. What else about them? What else did you notice about them?
You could do something.
Go ahead, Sky.
And you could do things with them. So you could make the noise with the pipe and then
They were-
drinking from the cup.
Yeah, so they were all things that you could do something with. So not only could they be manipulated, they were things you could do something with. They had potential to be useful. Did she pick up anything that wasn't useful? In some, you could use in some fashion. What else? There's another characteristic of everything. And we can look at it again because we want to start noticing what are the characteristics of the things that she is interested in. Yep, she was interested in that coffee cup. But what about the coffee cup? What did she do with the first one?
She was looking in it with the spoon to see
Yeah.
what was in it. Yeah.
And then what did she do with the spoon?
Handed it to,
She got rid of the
Yeah.
spoon and kept the cup. And how did she hold the cup?
like she was holding a coffee cup.
Like she was holding a coffee cup. And then Melanie brought another coffee cup up.
So
And
instead of subtracting, she added.
And then Teepa's comment was, that's better.
Mm.
Colin?
We're going to have to look. We're going to have to look again to see, wonder what about that was better. Wonder why Teepa thought that one was better, because she willingly released the one she had and took the other one. What else did you notice?
All the things were smooth.
All the things had some smooth surface to them. They weren't real prickly or real textured. They were sort of relatively smooth. Anything else?
Somewhat the same ability to grip. Like the pin was kind of small and the handle was kind of small.
So she did use some 3-jaw chuck or some skill finger dexterity. And when she held the cup, did she hold it upright against gravity? Did you anything spill?
No.
No? Anything else? When she left, what did she have with her when she left?
She picked everything up with her. Did she
picked
not?
up-
Yeah.
What was that? Why do you think she might have noticed the white PVC pipe?
It was different.
Everything she went for, there was contrast, background, foreground, background, foreground. And so she was pretty good at noticing contrast items or things that were in the center of her visual field. Did you notice her going for anything that were off to the sides, really? Okay, so let's watch it again, because Melanie is doing a very careful assessment here of what is Teepa's interest profile, what is her disinterest profile, and what does she like to take along when she leaves. So she will investigate and then keep. So we want to sort of look at what Teepa's profile is there. So we'll go ahead and take a second look at her. And let's just watch this. And then we're going to take a look at a couple other folks and see how Teepa might be similar or different than a couple of other people. So let's take a look at this, because that's what I'm always looking for. So what do I notice about the person's sensory need and their tolerance and their classic sort of, and my first categorization is people or stuff. Are they more drawn to people or are they more drawn to stuff? If they're more drawn to people, I start thinking connections. They're always wanting to make connections. Their eye contact will lead to body contact. So if their eye contact starts to lead to body contact, people need to be tuned into that, because it means I need to alert everybody that you want to get in and get in control of hands. You want to have things you can offer. You got to realize stuff is not going to be the answer. They're going to want people. They're going to seek out people. If it's stuff, then I've got to really take a look at what kind of stuff, because if I don't offer kinds of stuff that they like, guess what they'll go seeking? Stuff. And where are they going to go? Wherever they can go, because there are no personal boundaries now. And so what happens if they can get to a place, they will get to a place because their eyes will lead them to places. And so we are also looking for, at the same time, risk taking. I want to know how much of a risk taker my person is. Are they pretty risky in how they do things? Do they go into things pretty spontaneously, or are they really hesitant about things? So they really hesitate a lot. Their ability to initiate is really very slow. They want to make sure, so they're more hesitant. There's a slower profile. There seems to be this, everything is a little threatening, and they're more into safety mode than they are into curiosity exploration mode. And why is that so vital for the team, for the environment and the life that they're going to live? Why is that so important for everybody to appreciate, do you think? Go ahead, Mary.
Teepa, can I ask, I wasn't clear, who is interested in safety? I would have thought Ambers would not have been. Did I miss something?
So exactly, this is a cool one. So what it means is, as an Amber, if I am very hesitant to touch something,
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable touching people, touching things. I approach people very cautiously. It means somewhere in me, I don't find pleasure in a lot of stuff. I'm already showing you an intolerance to quick interactions. I am very slow. Now, I need things to slow way down so I can feel okay about things. And it's just, we classically would look, remember, these are folks who often get lost, but they also can have really extreme reactions if you go too fast. And if we notice them, are they a slow connector? Are they a slow explorer? Do they look at things a lot with their eyes? And you gotta, now that pity them. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Pretty one. Pretty one.
So there may be a concern for safety, a safety awareness, but it may not be our traditional thought of they're not going to touch the stove. The stove doesn't present a threat to them. They just may not engage or intensely touch other people or other non-safe items.
And Manda, to your point, sort of you're right, sort of there. So I would be at the stove as a cautious approacher. How much time do you have to engage me and to substitute if I'm a very slow, cautious engager?
You've got time.
Yeah. So do you want to go, oh, Teepa, no. Because then you terrify me. On the other hand, if I'm you've got 3 seconds to go, oh shit, she's going to touch the stove. I mean, that's how quick your brain has to go. Oh my God, there she goes. And so what does that mean for alert status of those around me? I mean, can Melanie be lackadaisical and be working on a report and then glance up every now and then to see what I'm doing? So what does it mean about whoever has responsibility for me at a moment in time?
You have to be very focused on that individual.
Oh my gosh. And what does it mean about my environment? You guys have really got to explore the environment for potentials, because I have absolutely no hesitance. I am curious and quick about everything I do, and I will drive you nuts. This is the one where you find, oh my God, and you find you're going, oh my God, you suck air in and you panic in a heartbeat, because these are the people that are like, oh my God, she's at the top of the stairs. How did she get the gate undone? I don't even know how she did that. Oh my God, what is she doing now? How did she get on the couch? Oh my God. I mean, these are the folks that will constantly surprise you because they are so friggin' curious about stuff, and they have no hesitance. And yet the really cautious people are the ones that are so slow to do it. It's like, oh my God, it's taking her forever. So they're even interested in taking a piece of food and putting it in their mouth. They taste it, they put it back down, they touch it, they manipulate it. And you're thinking, take a bite, just take a bite. Oh my God, just take a bite. And you again are going into amber state. Oh my God, just take a bite. No, don't spit it out. Don't spit it out. No. And again, it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just their ability to tolerate things. They are just really cautious. And we don't think about those people because those aren't the ones that catch our brain, but they are the ones that wear our brain out. Because we have to pause and slow down so much. And it's like, how long can it take her to eat a tuna fish sandwich? It's like, oh my God. She has taken the whole thing apart. She has eaten one little tiny piece of bread. She has licked the tuna fish off. And now she's on the second. And we have 1 out of 15 bites. Oh my Lord. This is going to take, go ahead and use the word.
Forever.
I came up with it, forever. I don't have time for this. And so pause. What does this mean about when I'm trying to do an intimate task with somebody or a personal care task with somebody or get them to start something with me? If I don't respect this, guess what's going to happen? No, you go, please, just leave it alone. And so this becomes a battle. But all it is the difference between me being super aware that I only want to engage with things that I think will be positive, but it takes me forever because of the damage to my prefrontal cortex to feel okay about exploring the object. And I've got to explore it often with many senses. I've got to explore it with my eyes. I've got to explore it with my hand. I've got to explore it with the texture in my mouth, with taste in my mouth, with smell. I'm picking stuff up and messing with it, but it's so slow. And so we come in and go, oh, Teepa, no. Honey, don't do that. Oh, Teepa. Oh, I'm sorry. Or I don't. Because you tick me off. Because I mean, I wasn't doing anything. So pause. I want us to go out into 2 breakout groups and talk about this phenomenon, because I think it's one of the missed things that we do, and it sets us up for failure with Amber's in a Heartbeat. Stuff versus people, and spontaneous curiosity that's very quick versus very cautious curiosity, very cautious, like to a point of what we would call dysfunctional. I mean, that's just how we are. We look at it and go, just eat it. It's the same friggin' sandwich you had yesterday. Oh my God. Just drink, take another drink. It's the same juice. It is exactly the same juice. Oh, why is she being so, just here. And then we start doing what without meaning to?
Pushing and
Pushing and getting really forceful and trying to make people do something. And then, of course, we're really surprised when they react to that, because now we're talking about intolerance and threat and feeling. And so they think we're being aggressive. We would never describe ourselves as that. Never, ever. And so we will document that they became aggressive and it came out of nowhere. And it's so surprised us because all we were doing was
trying to help.
And it could come from the lady next door who is this lovely emerald, who just reaches across and does something because she sees this person acting like a small child with their food and just says, oh, don't do that. And just spontaneously reaches out to do something. And the person who just got surprised from the side takes a major swing and is good enough at it that blacks their eye, cuts their cheek, does something. And now we've got a humongous incident. And it would never be reported that the person who was in the emerald state actually triggered all that, because we don't see it that way. We see the person in the amber state as really, it came truly out of nowhere. I mean, nobody could have predicted that. It's like, really? I bet we could have if we had paid greater attention. And what it means, do this with your arms. And I know you can't see me really that great, but bring them out. We don't want anybody within this zone. If we have somebody like this, we've really got to think of space considerations. They've got to have a clear space around them. And that other person can't reach within that zone to do something that the individual might not recognize. So we've got to really tune our world in, because then the environment becomes the only thing I can manipulate if I have other people that aren't going to necessarily be able to do what I, in my sapphire state, can do. And that includes me in a moment when I'm not being so sapphire, because it's the end of 8 hours and I just want to take a break and nobody showed up. And it's like, no. So let's go out and talk about stuff versus people. And and how many of you have ever thought about that really cautious person who needs a lot of time to decide, ooh, yes, I would like this, or ooh, yeah, no, that's not for me. So that kind of combo, people and stuff. So you've got the 4 variables that I think are often missed as an evaluation that I think make a huge difference. So go talk for 5 minutes about that stuff.
Sorry, whenever I enter the room, it's going to be very jarring. Okay, so what did you guys notice? People, stuff, and the combo of sensory tolerance versus need. What's standing out to you as far as what you've seen or what you noticed in Teepa if you don't have a ton of history with Amber? All right, let's break it down a little more then. Okay, how many of you have noticed Amber tendencies in yourself? Okay, when you think about going into an Amber mode, are you more of a people seeker or a stuff seeker when you think about your curiosity? Stuff for you, Amy?
And I'm people, and I'm wondering, and it seems like I've heard Teepa make some reference about this, that seems to have some sort of connection with personality type. Introverts tend to be more of the stuff. Extroverts tend to be more of the people. Did I dream that, or don't I remember hearing Teepa say that at some point?
Yeah, it makes sense if you're more of an extrovert seeking people versus seeking stuff. Now, when you guys go into Amber mode, what are you trying to do when you need, and I use the word need very thoughtfully, when you need to get away, when you need to do something, what kinds of things do you do with the stuff or the people? So let's start with stuff. If you're more of a stuff person, or if you know an Amber that's more of a stuff person, what kinds of things do they do with the stuff?
I have a 66-year-old Amber, and so she's very mobile, but she collects. And then she's in a very fight flight. Then she doesn't want you in her space, and that means even a room.
So she's collecting things, and then they're hers, and your presence feels like a threat.
Yeah, an intrusion, a threat.
Yeah. Okay. Any different or similar experiences when it comes to stuff?
I'm working with a lady at the moment who, she's in a residential kind of care facility. So in her room, her stuff is so important to her in terms of how people come and just even shut the door properly of the wardrobe. If they don't shut the door completely, and on her overway table, if things are mucked up, or if they touch her dinner plate, take the lids off, because she's so slow at eating. She likes to have the lids on. She gets frustrated when they take them off because they're trying to do their job and rush. But so they're not seeing it from her perspective, and she's not seeing it from their perspective.
So though I'm Amber, and though many people would discount my ability to say how I want things because of my language deficits, what often happens is I collect things and I don't want anybody to come in, or I have things the way I want them and don't mess with them, close it this way, do it this way, put this top on. Is it similar or different for the people Ambers?
I would think that would be different.
Aha. What's the biggest difference? So we talk about control versus connection.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Good way to put it.
So for people Ambers who are seeking and curious about people, Do they care about control of the environment?
Not so much.
No, but they do still want things.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. We're going to get ripped back.
That they are more active.
Late at night, I'm just telling you, it's late at night. Sky just had a moment, she pushed the blue bar by accident. It was an accident. She just meant to move the box. And of course it didn't collaborate with her. Yeah, it's liable to happen to one of us.
She only missed our awareness of people who want things as an amber, maybe seeking more control, versus people who are looking for people, maybe seeking more of a connection and less about the control.
Yeah.
That was what we ended with, Scott.
Okay, that's an excellent way to segue, because guess which one we think we would like better? Guess which one most of us think it's easier for us to help and support? What do you think?
We ended in the same place in our room, Teepa, so that's good. But we had a couple of folks right away who were like, "Ooh, I would love to work with the people that want people." That was a couple folks wanted that one, and a couple folks had no say on it. So,
and that's the tricky part, because when people are low intensity, we think, yeah, no, that would be great, because they'll stay with you, they won't wander off, you're going to be able to connect them to folks, it'll be, yeah. And that's where we often forget the other side of needing to be connected and the understanding of boundaries. So take your own hands. Let's just try this. Take your own hands and touch your face and feel how cool it is to explore your face and your lips. And then like mess with your hair and fiddle with it and try to figure it out. What are those things? Now, glasses, take the glasses and move them out of the way, because you're not a thing, people. You'll just drop them. Let's just drop them somewhere or scrunch them to get them out of the way. And now go back to people's, oh, look, those things. That's cool. Oh, I like you. And now touch your own shoulders and your own hands, like take your own hands and now touch your chest and then, oh yeah, now touch down lower. Oh, good. Oh yeah. And now on your legs. And now imagine that instead of, you can't see yourself, like look at yourself with your binoculars on, just recall there's not a lot of that. What will I see that my hands will want to explore if I like people? How close will I want to get to touching distance? What will I like to do? Well, if you haven't been watching me, you won't always know. Those hesitant people are the ones that will drive you nuts often, because they want to be where they can touch you, but not necessarily where you can see them and touch them. Because what are you with a hesitant person all too often without realizing it?
Too fast.
You're too fast, you're too much, you're too quick, you don't give them enough time. So they like to be slightly behind you. And they like to reach out and reassure themselves that you're there. And they like to touch with their sensitive fingers. And they may like to come in but they aren't going to be, these are the hesitant people are going to be the touch and remove and touch and remove and touch and remove. And they're going to be just probably a little out of your eyesight a lot of the time. And they're going to hover if they like you. Now, this is called shadowing. But when they're in the amber state, rather than the ruby state, what we see is a lot of fiddling stuff. So adjusting clothing, messing with hair, touching on shoulders. Now, and how many of you think, well, that's not too bad? I mean, it's better than the ones that are all over you, like with, oh my God, full frontal rub, rub, rub. Oh my God, you're the sweetest. I love your face. The ants who used to do your face like that. The people who are like all over, oh, I love you. Give me a hug. Oh my God, you're so wonderful. The high intensity, very rapid touchers that are people connecting, we think, oh, yuck. But the reality is, once you figure out how to support them, you can get them in this hand under hand bilateral support, and you give them a lot of what they want, and they're cool with it. I mean, you can do some stuff because they love connections. It's these hesitant people that will literally what?
Drive us crazy.
Drive you nuts. You will say, she doesn't really do anything, but can somebody take her? Could she go down? I mean, could you take her somewhere? Because I just need to get stuff done. Why is it so hard to pay attention to what you're doing when somebody is doing light touch on you?
It's just distracting. You can't focus because you're, yeah.
I mean, it's a way we get attention. So when people touch you and fiddle with your back, it means they want something. And we have a history of it. And so this moment where you're realizing, oh my God, she's driving me nuts. And if you don't figure out how to manage it, what will happen is, over time, what will happen to your amygdala? You're either going to do one of two things. You're going to totally tune it out, and you miss really significant cues where they become more and more distressed because you're not responding. You're not giving them anything. And they don't want your full attention. They just want an acknowledgement that you're there. If you actually turn and talk, often you do it too quickly. So you have to really watch for the slow turn, the slow engagement. And of course you're going, and you can't give them stuff. They don't want stuff. So what do you need? What would help, do you think? Because this is where we've got to start thinking, what's going to help us so we can stay present for them? What would help? What you got, Julie?
Would it be to kind of fill that need? Like if they're needing physical contact in that moment, just to slowly approach them at a pace that's comfortable for them, and take their hand, maybe rub their hand a little bit, do the hand over hand, sit down, take a few minutes if you can, and work with them. Would that help?
No, because as soon as you're done, they're right back to wanting to be able to see you and touch you. They crave the seeing and the touching. They literally want to be within arm's reach. They want to have hands on, but they don't necessarily, it's not the reverse. They don't necessarily seek to be touched and seek to be seen. They are seeking to have their input. They don't necessarily want you coming in. They just want that touching and the seeing. So what are some options? Think of your puzzle pieces, because I have to go through my puzzle pieces. Like, okay, so when I'm doing this, I'm thinking, okay, so I either need to get several people who are okay with this and get her okay, so that we have a certain few places and we all wear something similar.
The guy that built the subdivision.
We're all going to wear something similar. We're all going to be similar enough that her eye will be gradually drawn to the similar. And where she's looking for is similar touching things. And so we all need to work with one another to see if we can create this human being, this contact point, so that we can share it out. Because how much time can I do it before I need a break?
Mm-hmm.
And then how can I transition so that someone else takes my place and becomes the me? So this idea of settling into a space and letting the person, or settling into the relationship and letting them follow you for a period of time, but then recognizing I'm going to need somebody to pass him to. I can't do this hour after hour, because it is truly distracting enough that guess what you will start doing in the work that you're doing, in the activity that you're doing. And it's really significant. You'll start making mistakes. You'll make mistakes. You'll start not being able to be as attentive to what you need to attend to. You have maybe if you're in a residence, you have other people you're supposed to care for, and this person can't come in where you want to do intimate care, because that's not okay. Now, maybe it is. Is it possible that somebody could travel with, if you got permission? If you got permission from two families, could that person just travel with you and be there? I mean, it's that kind of thing. Guess what will have to be documented in the care plan if you're going to do that? You got to document that it's okay for Mary to be in the room when you're helping Harriet get done. Otherwise, that's going to be yet another resident in the room. And guess who has to be okay with it? Harriet. It's like this whole complicated thing. And the trickiest part is when the person who is living with dementia really connects to another person living with dementia or another resident. And it's not a care staff member. It's also really hard when it's a family member and they're the solo provider. Or it's a home care situation and there's only one carer. And then trying to get them connected to other carers. Yes, they're a connector, but there's something about that connection. And so what do I want to observe? I want to observe the connection. If somebody has a really tight connection with someone, I want to actually watch, observe, and videotape the interaction. Because I want to start to really pick up on the subtleties of what that human being does that seems to draw that individual. What is it about them that is visually appealing and tactily appealing? Because there's got to be something. And if there's an audio, what's the audio appeal? Because as this moves forward further and further, it's not the old relationship. It's not that it's her husband. It's that he has a certain look. He has a certain feel. He has a certain movement pattern. He has things that draw her, and her picture of him, it's a him. Oh, so we need, maybe the hair needs to go up in a ball cap or something. You know, that's where we need to think hard. What can we do to make ourselves appealing to that individual? And how many of us are going to have to be willing to do it? Now, do we want to wait until people are starting to be annoyed by her in order to do this? If we could figure this out coming into the situation, which is why I say I try to get it to be one of the very first things I notice so that we have that opportunity to make a shift. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Teepa again, because she is not a people person. You can tell she is not seeking people. She's seeking stuff. You got that. But I want you to look this time and see whether you think she's really that curious, spontaneous person. And notice about her, once she gets it, is she incredibly territorial about it? Or is she always looking for the next great thing, the next great thing, the next great thing? And so what we want to do is really look at her and look at Melanie and see if we can notice some things that might be helpful in coming up with something like a care plan for her, or at least something to try out, check out as next steps, because we got to do more assessment. So let's take a look and see what we notice. So how many of you noticed the very first thing she was doing, even as she was walking, was looking at her buttons, investigating her shirt, but down low on her shirt. So she actually wasn't watching where she was going. She was busy just walking, moving forward, but she was already messing with her buttons as she just did that. So object one was her own shirt. So what do we have on Teepa?
Something interesting already that can entertain for just a few minutes or engage her for a couple seconds.
So she has sleeves that are hanging down that give her some potential for something. They're hanging on her wrist a little bit. So she's got a loose shirt over her other shirt. So she's got another layer of stuff on. Now, did she put it on or did we put it on? It's a great tool because it gives us something that automatically is present for her to engage with. We could bring it out a little bit and it would give her a chance to look at it again. Now, Melanie does what as Teepa, because she was still looking at her shirt. What did Melanie do to get Teepa to look up?
Knock on the table.
Knock on the table. And it worked. So what we had was Teepa was not attending. What did Melanie therefore had to notice? Because Teepa wasn't asking, wasn't making noise, wasn't doing anything. What did Melanie have to do? Peripheral awareness. Melanie had to really be sapphire so that she had at least porthole vision, because where she was seated, or what is she going to want to do with her chair whenever she's in the area? Turn it. She's going to have to turn it so she can look at the open space in front of her, because who could be coming without you recognizing it, without her recognizing it? Teepa. And so Melanie has her chair tilted out a little bit for a couple reasons. What might be the second reason? We want to have our chair back a little bit and tip to the side a little bit. And Melanie is actually like the wall is right like there where the camera is. Why do we want her over in the corner with her right side exposed? I'm talking about Melanie here.
Yeah, you want to keep her from shifting into another state. So keep her brain as healthy and least threatened as possible.
Yeah, so Melanie is right-handed. She's right-eyed. So she's also right-footed. So by having the chair tilted out a little bit and writing over here a little bit on the edge, being up on the edge of her chair, not being slouched down and back in her chair, and actually having a dynamic posture, she actually is saying she is paying attention to not only what she's doing, she's liable to notice movement out of the corner of her visual field. So she can see Teepa moving. Why do you need to see Teepa moving? Because she's quick and she's into stuff.
Hey.
Second thing she did. So what does that tell you about sensory stuff? Knock, knock, and
Drawing attention to herself so that Teepa's
Melanie did
noticing
this
her.
stuff. What about Teepa though?
Mirroring. She mirrored her.
Mirror stuff. She likes, I mean, she likes lots of stuff. Teepa is somebody who you could give lots of different stuff to because it looks like she went from the knock. She didn't copy the knock. She copied the clap. And then Melanie offered her hand. Teepa immediately took her hand. Pretty quick. I mean, no hesitation there. Now let's see what happens.
That's nice. Good.
That's nice. What's she looking at again? What do you think she's looking at?
The hand or the shirt?
The hand or the shirt. That's nice. She says that's nice. So what was she okay with? And that's important to notice. Hand under hand was okay with her. That hand where she shook hands and held on, that was okay. That's nice. She wasn't refusing the handhold. That's just a thing for her. So that interaction was another thing. There's another thing right there.
Good morning. Good morning. Positive to say.
Okay, now. Teepa immediately, when Melanie gets close, and Teepa and Melanie let go of hands, what did Teepa do next? Very next thing she found.
The name tag.
The name on the shirt. It's actually the embroidery on the shirt. Right there in the middle. And so her hand immediately runs across the embroidery. Now, how could that be interpreted if you didn't understand? Teepa's just into stuff. She's not into people. What would you think?
Or if it was a younger male with FTD.
Yep. What could we think?
Sexually inappropriate.
Sexual touching. You know, they're really wanting to touch somebody's breast. No, that was just that visual thing again. And now what is Teepa looking at? I don't know if you can tell. Melanie's earring on that side. Yikes. Now I say yikes. Why might I say yikes to an earring that draws? Yeah, exactly.
Grab it and pull.
Yeah, because she wouldn't do it to be mean. I mean, but she could just be very quick and very curious, and there's a risk there.
Good morning. Good morning. Do you and do and do 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 do. Good morning. Oh, I'm lying. That's good. Man.
That's 5. This is 6.
Here. Oh, well, that's
7.
better. That one's much better. Much better. Much better. Hey, Teepa. Yeah.
8.
There you go. See all those? That's here.
9, 10.
See there?
Done with Melanie. And off she goes. So while you're on break, because you're going to get a 6-minute break, while you're on break, go and take care of yourselves. But while you're gone, think of like a few objects you could put out for Teepa that might be enough that would get her curious. and maybe get her connected to something. Think of what you can find in the world that might be a good thing that you could offer Teepa while you're out taking care of yourselves. Like, you don't need to put a lot of energy, just find a couple of things that you think might be okay to have around for Teepa. And you want to think that combination of visually, tactily, auditorily, but also nothing that is incredibly dangerous. But, you know, again, people will say, well, she could use it as a weapon. Did you see any evidence that Teepa was going to take the pen and stab at anybody? I mean, so this idea, you know, we got to really take some middle ground here of, you know, she wasn't really doing anything that looked particularly high risk or dangerous. The highest risk was drinking out of Melanie's cup. Actually, that was the highest risk things that she did, all things considered. Not a big deal. So let's take a break for 6 minutes and then come on back and we're going to move it forward. Is that why you put them on?
No, I had them on anyway, but
wow,
therapeutic use of self.
Great. I will be all over your chest. They will be fantastic. Oh, Amanda's got something. I will be all over her. Oh, wow, that is super cool. Oh, yeah, and that little bobble at the top, that's going to do it for me, Sky. Man, yeah, you guys are good. Oh, what does Christine have? Oh, the cush ball. Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow, I'll take that sucker apart. Oh, that'll be fun. That's got lots of thingamajigs. Oh, and Rachel's going to give me that, and I'll stretch it, and then I'll stretch it, and then I'll hand it, or I'll either break it and then hand it back to her. Cool, you guys are coming up with some great stuff. What do you notice about, oh, you found something else. You could try. That might get me off your chest. I'm not sure, but Amy, you can try it. It's a possibility. Oh, it's a possibility, but I'm not for sure. Those little snappy things look just great to mess with. I'm just telling you. So what did you notice all of your things would do, though? Give me up energy or bring me down energy? Yeah, you guys are going to stimulate me till I am flying high. Then what's going to happen? You're going to go, oh my Lord. She is like, because what did Melanie do after she offered me one more thing? And I was sort of satisfied with what I had. I had something, what were the two things I ultimately ended up with in that interaction?
Coffee cup and then those two plastic piping.
And those two plastic pipe things. So what I did is I had something that filled both of my hands. This item, the mug with coffee in it, or mug with a liquid in it at least, is going to occupy not only my hands, my eyes and my mouth. And the other one, I've got something in that hand. So what will I have to do in order to pick something else up?
Put it down.
Put it down. And what about the thing I have? Is it something that is highly intensely sensory driven in and of itself? No, but does it occupy my hand? Yeah. And so what it allows me to do is roam in the environment and yet give people a chance to figure out what I'm up to before I start doing it. Because which one do you think I'll probably put down first? Just off the top of your head. The pipes. Unless
I was going to say whatever's in your right hand.
Whatever's in my right hand, I might put down because that's my action hand. So good, Teffy. So that's my dominant hand. So there's a higher probability I will do whatever I'm going to do with whatever's in the right hand, and then I'll get rid of it and get something else. So where will you find my stuff or whatever stuff I've picked up?
Depends, right? Either everywhere or in a special place in like one collection spot.
Yeah. So given what you've seen about me so far, which do you think it's probably going to be?
Everywhere.
Wherever I found the new thing. So when you find something, you want to think what's missing. Because almost always when I have something that I leave, I will have what? I mean, this is really important for us to get our head around so we don't get surprised by it. So we should look around the environment when we saw something that didn't belong there and say, okay, what's not here that should be here? Ooh, I don't see Mildred's dentures. Oh shit, she did not. Oh my God, did she take Mildred's dentures? Is it possible she took Mildred's dentures? Mildred never wears her dentures. She did not. Oh my God. And now you're going to find, does Teepa indeed not only have Mildred's dentures, did she put Mildred's dentures in her mouth? Is it possible? Yes, I have actually seen it. I have seen people with 2 sets of upper plates in their mouth. They grin really big. And it is a bear to get them out because they get them jammed back in there in the one set and they bite down on the bottom. And it's really hard to get that second set of dentures loosened up. And because your jaw's at max. And so it's really tricky to do that. So let's pause for a second. And I'm going to show you a second lady. Okay, now, what are the things you're looking for right away again? Okay, what do you want to be looking for? Because Teepa, I am doing an assessment of this woman. Now, when did I get called in? Let's be clear, because this is the same situation. When did I get called in? When she bothers everybody. I mean, she is bothering people. All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on here.
Here, come on over here. Look, Mary, could you help me get these hats down and put them down here on the sofa? I want to get it cleaned off.
I won't say I can't.
Well, here, let me see. What do you think? Try this on me. How's it look?
It looks good.
Does it look pretty good on me? Well, tell me, which one do you think would look better? How about this one? What do you think about this one? Show me how this one goes on. How does this one go on me?
Well, it's so they still.
Yeah. Here, put it on me.
Put it down there.
Yeah, put it up on me. Here, put it up here on me.
Now you put it up on you.
I know, I'm not going to put it on you. I was going to have you do it to me. Come on up here.
Okay, so I'm going to pause. What have y'all noticed so far? Because I've got a lot of data already. And some of it's on me. Because this was done 18 years ago. What do you got, Julie? What are you thinking?
You were distracting her with giving her a task to do, asking for help.
So I brought her into the area. What did I have in my hand?
A handbag.
I had Mary's hand in one hand and a handbag in the other that I was holding out in front of her. Guess who had the handbag when I started?
Mary.
Mary, guess what she did? She gave it to me to do what?
Put away.
To hold.
Free up her hands to do something else.
Get rid of me. She wanted to get rid of me from the very beginning. So she was willing to give up the handbag to get rid of me because she wanted me to go away. So what did you notice as soon as we came into the room? She peeled off. I mean, she was wanting to go away from me. She didn't really want to be with me. So what was I working really hard to figure out? What am I working on here? What am I
How to gain her interest?
What kind of things might draw her eye and her hands? What can I get her to be interested in here? Because what are we thinking? What am I thinking about her? People person or thing person?
Maybe thing, because she seems to have a nice collection of hats and.
Yeah, so this is a community that has some of those quote unquote stations set up. And so this is a station, and Mary does visit a lot of the stations. And so they said she'll take all this stuff and she hides it, and we don't know where it goes. So she takes everything off of everything and hides it. And she'll go into people's rooms and she does the same thing. She hides stuff in people's rooms. And then she takes stuff.
Seeker.
So she is a stuff seeker. So what have we found out so far? What did I find out so far? And I made some mistakes here. I'm going to own them.
She's got some real clear boundaries as far as what's allowed for people to do with other people.
Yeah, she is not. Is she a sensitive? Is she really sensory intolerant of being touched herself?
She backed right away.
She backed away in a heartbeat. And even when I was putting the stuff on me, was she curious about the stuff, but she didn't want to touch me. I mean, she did not want to get close enough to touch me. And what is she doing with her hand right now? And what is she doing with this hand?
She touching herself?
She is touching herself. Where is she touching herself?
Her face.
On her face. And go ahead and do that. This is often an early signal for some ambers that things are not going well. This is the, this is not comfortable. This is not comfortable. What do you see with her other hand? Open or closed?
She's closed, like she's guarding herself.
How close to, yep, you got it. How close to her body? That's her right hand, and she's got it up close to her body and it's closed. Is she making eye contact with me?
No.
No, but is she letting me out of her visual field? No. Is she about 6 feet away from me? Let's see.
Try this one on me.
Okay.
Here, try that one on me. Put that one on my head. See what you think. Here, put it up on my head. Oh, you got it? Oh, it's got to be fixed. Good. Here.
Now, what happened on this hat? Because this hat, I had a couple of hats. First hat, the straw hat, not a whole lot. The pink hat, a little bit, but not so much. I was pushing too hard for the interaction. What happened with this red hat, though?
It needed to be fixed. It had the top was dinted in. Needed to
Yeah, and so there was something about that that drew her eye in her hands. And even when I handled it a little bit with the other one, she immediately let go of it. Fine, you have it. This one, she kept holding. And she keeps looking at. And she's not done with it. She's not ready to be done with it. So she's doing something with it.
Put it up here. See what you think.
Oh, Lord.
Have I got it?
Yeah, you got it.
Well, what do you think?
It's good.
You sure? Look here. I don't know, Mary.
Now, what did she do for the first time? By the third hat, what is she starting to do?
Engage with you.
She's engaging a little bit with me. So she actually put it on me. Once she fixed it, she put it on me, and she's making a comment. Oh, it looks okay. I mean, is that purposeful language, or is that sort of social chit chat, do you think?
Social chit chat. How does it look? Looks okay.
Looks okay.
But she approached. That's the first time she has.
Now what did we get there?
Uh-oh.
She laughed. I laughed. She laughs back. She laughs back. And now we're both looking toward either the mirror or the more stuff there. Now, how did I get her to do that?
Point.
I turned my whole body and pointed. And which hand did I point with?
The one closest to her.
The one closest to her. So I've got her looking where I'm looking.
Get that pink one. Get this pink one. See what you think about it.
Get mine back either.
Yeah, get that pink one.
Now, what did she just
try
say?
that pink one on me?
What was the message she just gave me?
I don't think so.
Before that, and I didn't get mine
back
either. What does she actually say? There's a message there. What was she telling me?
I keep giving you these hats and you're not giving any of them back.
You got it. You're taking all my hats, lady. I mean, and I didn't get mine back. I'm done with you. But I get her to come back. She comes back again. Now, is she excited about being with me?
Yeah.
But is she tolerating me?
Yes. Only because of the hats.
Only because of the hats. What do people need to understand with Mary then? If they're within...
She's object oriented. She likes objects.
So object oriented. So if you are going to try to do care with her, what have you better got with you?
Objects.
Objects. What kind of objects have we seen so far seem to be drawing her eye?
Colorful hats.
Colorful things that need to be
fixed.
Things that need to be fixed somehow. So if you hand her a washcloth that is folded, but if I hand her a washcloth or a couple washcloths that are not folded, what might she be willing to do?
Fold it.
Take them and fold them. And so this is the idea that okay, now I'm thinking about self-care. I'm not just thinking about fun things to do with Mary or how she's going to have enjoyment. I'm thinking about, God, I'm going to bet, given this need to be in control and this mine versus yours and this sensitivity, I'm getting concerned. I bet they're having a really hard time with intimate care tasks. What they were describing was her hunting and seeking behavior was problematic, and going intrusive behavior, going into other people's spaces and taking everything and hiding it. But if she's doing that with stuff, what does that mean about herself? Is she going to be showing herself to everybody? Is she going to be comfortable coming uncovered, coming out, being very visible and being very open about her body and herself and her stuff? No. So guess where else they're more than likely having a significant amount of trouble that wasn't in the original conversation? Oops.
Toileting and dressing.
What about showering? What do you think has been happening with getting her clean?
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, I mean, nobody tries to shower Mary. It's not worth it, is the comment that gets made. Nobody does showers with Mary. We documented a long time ago, because she'll hurt you. Be careful. She is strong and she has fingernails, and she'll scratch you and she'll hit and she'll bite. You got to be really careful. So we just do the best we can with getting her pits and her crotch. I mean, and it is just documented. It is not worth it. I mean, and we do use medication sometimes if we really have to do something. Because I'm pausing there for a second, because people like Mary, people like Teepa, those kind of folks, they're at very high risk for staff missing these identified items. And so therefore, when we get into a close situation, how big are bathrooms? And what is that? Do we bring a lot of stuff that people can mess with, or are we not bringing stuff that people can mess with? And so everything that they mess with and everything that they touch, and they feel trapped, and we're doing things to them, and rather than figuring out how to help them do things, because we can't figure it out. How long did it take me to figure out how to get Mary to do stuff? How many minutes? We're at 1:18, just so you're clear. You can look down there. It's been 1 minute and 18 seconds, and she's already put a hat on my head, fixed it and put a hat, and I've gotten her to do what? This is the second hat.
What do you think about that one?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Is that one good?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah? You think that one's better for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That one all right? Which one do you like best so far? Of the ones we tried, which one looks best?
This one right here.
You think that?
Now, what has happened to my Amber?
Acting like an emerald.
Oh my gosh, she's an emerald. How the heck did that happen? What just happened? Her language sounds emerald-like. Her tracking sounds emerald-like. Her reaching out and taking a hat spontaneously to my question, which one do you like best? Decision making is emerald-like. She automatically picks it up. And
you think that one's the best?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here, go ahead and put it back on. Let's try that again. Put it back on me.
On you?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Get it on right.
Get it right on up there.
There. So that looks the best?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let me look in the mirror. That looks, you're pretty good at this, Mary.
so how often do you think other people see Mary in an emerald state?
Depending on her environment.
Mm-hmm.
She may go there, but they probably wouldn't be aware of it.
When might she be very emerald-like and they miss it?
Eating, yeah.
Eating. I mean, she will probably be very focused on eating, and she will probably be very task-oriented on eating. And she probably does pretty good with eating. She probably will spontaneously focus in and get her meal done. Is she going to be real social at meals? Is she going to be she does it and she leaves. She's done. She's out of there. But can she feed herself an entire meal? Will she eat what's on her plate that she likes and leave what she doesn't? Yeah. I mean, so she's going to be pretty functional at a mealtime as long as
She has space. She needs her space.
Space, and people don't do what? Mary, you done with that? Here, let me take that. Okay. Oh, Mary, hang on. Here, wait, here. Do you have your napkin? Here, let's tuck your napkin in. If that happens too much, what will Mary do? We saw it. What will she spontaneously do?
Leave.
So now your goal right now is to think, okay, what kind of groups could you put Mary in? Okay, so that's my next thing. Who else could Mary be with? Who could she be with? Who would she be good with? What might she, now, this is where now all of a sudden, I want to think further about Mary. So let's take a look. Let's review for ourselves. Let's do a quick review here. What do we know about ambers? And when did we see Mary go emerald? It was a one-on-one interaction. So she is in the moment and she's all about sensation. Do you still believe that about Mary essentially? That's the primary core of Mary. Now, when she's in a good moment, she might be able to do some loops. Do a little loop. Is she going to hook it on? Will it be spontaneous though, because she's primarily an amber? Or will it have to be a guided thing? What do you think? Guided or spontaneous going into emerald state most of the time?
Guided.
It's going to have to be supported and guided. She doesn't have the ability frequently to move into the emerald. What did it take me for to jumpstart the emerald? We had several false starts. We had several amber moments, and then she sort of clicked. I had to be very tolerant of being messed with. I had to become an object she was dressing. I had to become the thing that was part of the stuff. So I had to start with stuff she was interested in, engage myself in that. So what we might be able to do is other dressing kinds of things. Now, why do I want to pick other sort of dressing kinds of things? Like maybe different sweaters, maybe different jewelry, maybe different kinds of things like shawls or something like that, or some blankets. Why do I want stuff like that? Yeah, look, Mary, yeah.
To keep their interest.
Yeah, absolutely, it will draw our interest, but there's a bigger reason why. Why do I want to focus in on this clothing type thing?
I'm wondering if it's
to build a routine.
Build a routine that's related to
self-care. And
self-care, because what am I very suspicious about by now? And this is me getting very suspicious that this hiding things, taking things, moving things, and intruding is not the only issue in this. This what was introduced when the amber, I need to come up with a program for Mary so that she doesn't bother people so much. That's how it was introduced. And it was introduced by the executive director and the program director for the memory care unit. Guess who's having the most trouble with Mary in bathrooms? Is it the ED or the memory care director? It's staff. And staff are not necessary. They weren't part of this consult. They were actually not, they didn't ask for me to come in. The other folks asked for me to come in. So now I've got to do a little more seeking, because what I suspect is, given my experience with Mary, I'm betting there's a huge component of challenge during self-care, which will then result in Mary having a lot of unmet needs, which causes her to then go
seek others,
hunt and gather and seek and hide, because she's been exposed. It's been an uncomfortable, awful experience. And now she's got to go take care of hiding things, and she's got to put things away, and she's got to protect her stuff, and she's got to take her stuff out of places where people can see it and put it in places where people can't see it. And how did that happen? Because of what's happening in self-care. And people aren't making the connection at all. And what that means is Mary is seen as a problem rather than Mary being also viewed as somebody who has low sensory tolerance and needs us to really tune in to what would make her more comfortable. What in the world can we do that will make her more comfortable with self-care? Okay. She sees parts, but not the whole. And she has some significant changes in object recognition. But at this point, she's still binocular. She's missing 2 out of 4 words. She catches 2 out of 4 words. She hears some key words, but she doesn't get them in context frequently. So guess what people are more than likely using when they try to interact with Mary, given that she doesn't like to be messed with?
Mary, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and touch you where it's like really uncomfortable. And here's why I'm doing it. Here's what I'm going to do next.
I got to get to the thing here. This is like, please, no, wait, don't.
Now,
Stop.
Mary, just let me touch. Just let me. We're just going to get you clean. We just need to get you. We just need to.
Don't. Okay, now Amanda's language is very much what? It's moving from, how many times did she repeat a phrase?
Oh, yeah.
Over and over and over. What's Amanda missing?
Your cues.
2 out of 4 words. Guess what she's missing? My message. Did she recognize anything I said? Amanda, what did I say?
You refused my care.
Is that what I said? Is that, y'all who are listening, is that exactly what I said?
You had to get out of there. You wanted to get out of there.
So Amanda didn't hear my
No,
message.
she said no. She said no. She wouldn't let me do it.
So I pause here for a second, because what does it mean we can't do when we move into amber state next to an amber who's starting to show a significant distress state and we feel trapped as well? Instead of getting 2 out of 4 words, how many words are you getting? Automatic or argument words or forbidden words. She swore at me. She spit at me. We see that as an aggressive behavior rather than a defensive maneuver. We're not able to see it for what it is frequently, because what we're seeing is just the reaction she has, and we cannot view our own reaction unless we're watching it on video. There is no way we can see something in those moments, because we can't. I mean, it's just not possible for us. And so my statement about expressive language: repetitive, variable, echo, volume change, variable volume, it can go up, it could go down. Heightened use of hands. But what am I going to do? What do you think Mary would do if I kept coming at her? What do you think she would, that posture that she had with her hand and her hand, what would she start doing with one hand at least?
Defend herself.
Trying to get me to back off. And that might involve full hands out, or it might involve her trying to hold on and push me back to get some space. So she will actually have enough hand skill to have both dexterity, but she'll also have pretty decent strength in both hands, unless something else is going on. She is also more strong than skilled, and she has limited safety awareness for the other person, but also for herself. I mean, so this is where flailing her arm out, she might actually come up against a rail or run into something or try to pick something up that's broken and slice her hand open. People awareness. She can get lost in old new relationships, but classically it's either I like or I don't like. I like or I don't like in that moment. I like or I don't like. And when I don't like, I don't want to be with. If it's okay to be somewhere, if it feels okay to be there, she's going to want to be there. Otherwise, she's going to seek somewhere else. So you'll know whether she's okay by whether or not she's staying or whether she's trying to go. So what did you notice about Mary when I was working with her to start with?
Oh,
she wanted to go. Either she wanted to get rid of me or she wanted to go. So what happened by the end? Did she stay for a while, and was she okay there for a bit? Mm-hmm. And then when she was done, guess what?
She was done.
She's ready to go again. She's ready to go again. So if you were to take a look at Mary and trying to figure out, what are we going to do with her? What do we think? More sensory or more intellectual awareness of what's going on? What do you truly think she's really more tuned into?
Very sensory.
Very sensory. I mean, so these ideas that we're throwing out there, the words that we're throwing out, unless she's fairly comfortable, my idea, try it on me. What was I using to try to help Mary get what I was saying?
Visual cues.
I was using a lot of visual cues. The very first thing I did is I put a hat on my head and then took it back off. And then I put my head down so Mary could see what I wanted her to do, but she wasn't having any of it. By the third one, though, she was getting it because I had demonstrated it twice and nothing bad happened to her. Nothing awful happened. I wasn't trying to get it on her. I wasn't trying to. So in the bathroom, how many people believe that staff's first thought would be to go, okay, Mary, we're gonna take off this and we're gonna do that. Here, we're gonna do that. How many staff would be willing to take a wet washcloth, pick their armpit up and turn to Mary? How many of them would even think about it? Why?
I'd be more likely to say, here, Mary, wash yourself. And I'd be putting it at her. Yeah.
Right away. Why? And even though you just watch this video of me working with the hats.
Mm.
Why are we so, what happens when we get in that situation, Alejandra?
I think for me, it's not being willing to step into the shoes of that amber state, but it's amber state, not from a amygdala driven place. It's amber state coming from my prefrontal cortex to go, this is what may help Mary. I'm going to tolerate it for now. Let me see what else I need on the other side. Maybe I need a different shirt to wear later.
So what gem state do you absolutely have to be in? You absolutely have to be in to be the best partner for Mary.
Totally sapphire.
Totally sapphire. Guess what people are by the time they get in the bathroom with Mary? Well, I guess they're amber or diamond, or, I mean, they're not going to be at all in that sapphire state because they're already dreading, because what has already happened multiple times.
Yeah, it's the anticipatory
Distress. They are already anticipating this going badly. Their sensory background is saying, oh boy, here we go again. Can they take the data that I gave them from the video with me and Mary and apply it automatically? What am I going to probably need to do if I actually want them to try something?
Do with them for a few times.
Guess who's going into the bathroom? They have the camera. I have the washcloths. Guess who's going to have to go in the bathroom and have Mary rub my armpits?
So if we have a lady who she puts layers and layers on, and we struggle to get the layers off. So if I went in with wearing my coat and I said, do this, and started taking my coat off, would that be a good visual cue for her then to take her coat off?
Here's the trick though. How many layers does she have on? 5?
Sometimes she'll have up to 6, 5 or 6.
So guess what you're going to have to put on?
5 or 6 layers.
Yeah. And the first one, what you want to do is start to take it off and say, here, can you take this?
Okay.
And then you want to offer her a hanger right away.
Okay. Yeah.
Why?
So she puts it away and doesn't put it back on, because that's what she would do. She would sometimes get the first layer off, and then you get it off the one arm, and then the other arm goes right back in. Yeah.
Because she likes those. Yeah. She's hiding under all those layers because she feels safer. Because what happens in this room? People
doesn't want it.
Yeah. So guess what? We're not going to do this
in the bathroom. So
in
start in another room.
We're not going to go in that space, because that environment is the anticipatory trigger for layering. There is an emotional memory of this limited space, this sound, this look, this thing. I want out of here.
Yeah, which makes sense, because at the beginning we did make many mistakes with her, trying to get her to undress, and it became very apparent very fast that it was a negative space for her.
It was a really negative space. So this whole idea of environment and willingness to undo, and then I'll get about halfway. I personally would probably get about like this and say, Mary, can you help? Could you hear? And then I would be willing to turn around and oh, thank you, Mary. Thank you. Oh, oof. And then, hey, Mary, here, help me a second time. There we go. We get a second one. And they go, hey, Mary, you do yours. Do yours. See if you can get yours off. Now, what do I want to do to the room we're in?
Crank up the heat.
Crank up the heat.
Yeah, make it warm for her.
Make it warm. So as she comes out of these layers, what else might I want to have nearby?
Like a house coat or a blanket or something.
Something for her to put over herself, something, and maybe a robe, maybe something like a robe that belts and covers. So what I want to do is think, okay, substitution. I've got to figure out what I can offer her in substitution. And then when we get down, I may actually leave a layer on and I'll do it with dry. Because if that's sort of high intensity, what do I not want to try to make her go down to?
Nothing.
Because
Feel very vulnerable.
Hugely vulnerable. And this is where post-traumatic stress disorder may be coming from a previous life experience that we really don't know too much about. I don't know if Mary's ever been raped. I don't know if Mary's ever been assaulted. I don't know if Mary can't tell me that data. I don't know if Mary ever has been physically abused. I don't know if she's been mentally abused. I don't know her story. What I do know is I see plenty of evidence now that she does not want to do anything without at least a few layers on. And I will tell you that I have gotten people really to smell okay washing over clothing. I mean, and frequently after the people do that, they'll move things and I can get an armpit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm actually doing is building an emotional relationship of trust and sharing. And so this idea that I'm willing to do things with Mary, not do things to Mary. And maybe I might need to use hand under hand guidance, but man, with Mary, is she going to accept a lot of hand under hand guidance?
Mm.
And that's the tricky part. Hand under hand works great for who? Hesitant people, because you can take your hand and what do they get to try out without touching anything? What's cool about the hesitant people is once you get them connected to your hand, you can do things with your hand and they're like, oh yeah, okay, well, that's okay. Then they can dive in there and start doing it because they get to experience it through you, which is kind of cool because they're along for the ride. They aren't having to touch anything. You're touching stuff. And when they do it, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, I'll try that. Oh, yeah, that's okay. So you become their guide, their body guide, their visual guide, their moving guide, their interaction guide. People like Mary, they're tough because they do not want a physical connection with a human being. They really don't. So everything to them is potentially not okay. Stuff is what they want. But then when they get the stuff, they aren't sure what to do with the stuff. And that's what frustrates us so much. So I'm going to have you go out and talk about what is your takeaway, because these are folks that are really challenging. I mean, I think having somebody come into your world as an amber, they're in an amber state when they come into your world. It's really difficult if you're not incredibly skillful in this engagement thing to figure out how to create a program that's going to work for their pleasure, for their purpose, for their care, for their wellness, and for their rest and restoration. Because really, we've got to figure out, oh my gosh, we got 24 hours to put together. And they're short cycling. I mean, they're short cycles. They have 5-minute cycles. How long was that video? Let me look. It on total, I think that video total was approximately 2.75 minutes. And guess what? Mary was done. So I've got to come up with something else after that. So I'm going to have you go talk for 5 minutes. What are you figuring out from this experience with Amber? Because I've tried to give you somebody who is high intensity. Mary is somebody who's high intensity, but one of the reasons she's high intensity is because we're high intensity without realizing it. We get high intensity and she reactively becomes high intensity. And the high intensity for her is the seeking and hiding, seeking and hiding, seeking and hiding, stuff, because she can't control us. So what is she trying to do? Control her stuff. And any place she can get to, she's going to try to control stuff. She's entering other people's rooms. She's getting in their rooms. She's moving things around. She's hiding things. And unfortunately, sometimes she breaks things, or she ruins things, or she damages things in her efforts to fix them, to hide them, to secure them. And when we take her into a space to do something, we cause the whole cycle to repeat. And so how much time does she get to spend in Emerald? Very little. But, you know, she has Emerald capacity. I'm going to show you that in just a few minutes, because everybody's so scared about Mary. And then we're going to switch gears. But let's go talk about this. And I think it is just about time for you to take a second break. So let's talk about this for 5 and come back, and then it'll be time for your break.
So what are you guys taking away from this visual and audio experience with Mary? What are some of the things you noticed, either Teepa doing that you're interested in trying out, or Mary doing that you want to know more about?
I think I would like to know more about like what Mary would be interested in engaging in.
So
And
you're,
like, oh,
you're
go ahead.
seeking that history. You
Yeah.
you would want to know more about what did Mary do? What did Mary like to do? What does she not like to do?
Yeah.
So you know more about what you could offer. Cool. What else? Anybody have other thoughts on what Teepa did or what you want to know about Mary?
I think for myself, it would be thinking about that kind of anticipatory distress with people, because we get a lot of referrals for people who are aggressive on personal care and staff really struggle to manage it. And I think, particularly where we are in the UK, I think staff always say they haven't got enough time to support people. And I think I was just thinking of all those things, like really working with somebody kind of one-to-one and building that trust and building that relationship.
But
just think about how I could
totally,
translate that to our care.
totally out of the space that you're being asked to support in. So you're called in to support with showers. Don't start there. Start trying on hats in the common space, doing something, playing cards, doing something that is not obviously related, but will help you get a sense what can the person do if they're not in this space that causes distress before you even go there. Yeah, cool.
And the other thing I find is that if somebody is like that and gets distressed and might hit out in your very small bathroom area, they're wanting 2 staff to work with that.
Great. So now you've put me in this very tight space,
yeah,
completely undressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've added a second person.
Well, 2 carers.
Mm-hmm. And so how is this going to go? I mean, just rational thinking, these people are not thinking at this point. And that is one of our biggest challenges. We get ourselves into these situations, confined space, you're sweating and it's like 60 degrees in the room. It's a very touchy situation. So where do we want to start doing some of these interactions? Where do we want to start having people engage in some physical, okay or not okay activities? Because yeah, you're right. When you're getting called in, of course they're aggressive. I would be too if you put me in a shower, undress me, and put 2 carers in who are going to drop me down to nothing and clean my private areas. That's rape. And truly, and we don't see it like that because we don't mean it to be that, but it really does terrify someone. Wow, yeah. Anything else you guys notice that you are interested in learning more about or you want to try? How skilled are you all? This is a question. When we talked about getting yourself undressed or cleaned up in front of someone else, how skilled and practiced are we in this? Oh, so over the break, it might be cool for you to, I don't know, turn off your camera and give it a shot, because it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. You realize, oh, okay, well, to keep it in her visual range, I'm going to have to do this a little bit differently. And then how do I have a hanger ready?
So Alejandro, what did you guys come up with? What did you guys talk about and think about?
There were a multitude of things that I think someone brought up. We got this 2-minute interaction, ultimately potentially some things to try about the hat. Maybe it's a color thing that we take into another task or another place. And then someone else shared out like this idea of working with Mary and not being physically close and really checking my space with her is that's kind of difficult. It's kind of tough for me. And that would be not easy. So who could help me with it basically?
Yeah. So is it possible to rehearse this with somebody? Could we work with somebody else that doesn't have dementia and have them really think have them even think about putting on glasses that limit your visual abilities, or closing their eyes even, and have you be close and be distant and touch and see what it does, so you can sort of start to sort this out a little bit. Oh, Amanda, what about your group? Sorry.
I would say we were really similar, but really different too. We came up with, we want to learn more about her history, more about what she did, what she liked, what she didn't like, so that we could branch out, which was cool. But also, when we're called in for these very intense, aggressive situations, not thinking as small as we've got to start in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Instead, moving out to a space that doesn't have that anticipatory distress associated. And then we were getting into practicing over the break of undressing in front of someone thoughtfully, and we didn't get there yet. I was going to keep going, but I decided to stop.
But then they paused you, or you paused it. You ran out.
The room pulled me back.
The room pulled you back. I have that happen too. I don't understand. I have a bra on and everything. It's a sports bra. People look like this all the time. I've seen them out there exercising. Of course, I don't look like they look, but that's a whole nother story. Don't be looking. All right. So what we're going to do is give you 7 minutes this time to 8. Let's make it 8. Alejandro reminded me last night that I should be more generous with my time. Give you 8 minutes to go take care of you, and give yourself more time to really double check your sensory needs. And when I say sensory needs, sensory likes, take a look at what you're maybe putting in. Take a look at what you're doing with your body. Look around at what you're noticing, even visually. What are you going and looking at? Sort of go take a peek at yourself. Really be honest with yourself. What are you? Who are you? What are you? Are you a people person or a stuff person? What kind of draws your eye? What makes you go, ugh? What are you really quick at, and what are you hesitant about? At Amanda's house, I'm very hesitant about the hot water in the kitchen sink. Nowhere else, the hot water in the kitchen sink. Why do you all think I might have that reaction? Because I'm not real hesitant about a lot of things.
You had an experience.
It'll burn the crap off your fingers. Everywhere else in the house, the temperature's fine. The kitchen sink is like a boiler. You move it over a little too far, even move it back over to this area. You gotta test it real carefully, because it'll get you, man. And yet, if you turn it down low enough so that's comfortable, the dishwasher doesn't get dishes clean. So I've had to deal with her inability to tolerate a lower temperature in the kitchen sink and the upstairs bathroom, apparently. So What can I tell you? All right, we're going to take an 8-minute break. We will come back and we're going to dive into a third individual who's very different, to get a look and see what you think about this individual. Okay, so rather than tell you about this, I'm going to see if I can show you something. I've got to get my camera to work again. Let me see if I can get it to be happy with me. Trying to get it to back up a little bit. So I've got a special camera. And the special camera sometimes listens.
When you did this earlier, it did it.
I
So
know.
just swiggle
Just
around a little
dance
bit.
around a little.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So it has the ability to have a distant visual or up close visual. So I'm going to give you a distant visual to start with, and I'm going to show you what's about to happen in this scenario, because I want you to see it with me doing it, and then I'm going to show you it actually happening. Okay, so here we go. So go to the breakout room for just 3 minutes and tell each other what you think was happening here. And I only do this.
All right, what do you guys think? What was happening there?
They didn't know how to get her to take her medicine, possibly, so they engaged it with another food.
Oh, so they tried to sneak it in there, you think, maybe. All right, what else? What other things do people think might be happening here?
She seemed to be eating something, and then she put something in her mouth, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. I don't know if it was a pill or something else. But then she was like trying to eat it like she was eating the other stuff. And it was like, this isn't right.
So whatever it was not something that was meant to be consumed in the same manner as Cheerios. Cheerios were okay. They seemed to be, yeah, something, whatever it was, whether it was that sneaky medicine or something else, did not please her. Okay, what else? Any other thoughts on what might have gone on there?
Something was in arm's reach that shouldn't have been.
Oh, maybe it wasn't put in the cup with the Cheerios, but it happened to be within arm's reach, and it shouldn't have gone in her mouth, but it did.
Yeah, contrasting color got her attention.
It was white. I don't know what it was. God only knows what it was.
She was on eating mode. So
she was eating, and if it's in arm's reach while eating, yeah, okay. What about the water or the drink? What did you guys notice with the drink? Was she able to transition back and forth between eating and drinking comfortably?
not really. Seems like it was one or the other.
So it was one or the other. She was eating and then she was drinking, but was she skilled enough to know which one was for drinking, how to hold the cup, how to swallow the liquid?
She could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, she could do all of that. We just don't quite know what that thing was and why it was there. Was it intentional or not? Was it a mistake or was it something that she was supposed to take and they were trying to hide it in there? All right, we're going to get pulled back. I have a feeling. Let me look and see. Yeah, okay. Any other thoughts? You have 10 seconds. All right, so we'll see what it actually was, and hopefully she will tell us that it was edible.
Okay, so now I'm going to have you watch a video clip and see if you are accurate.
We just got one little pill to take this morning. Yeah. That okay? You want to do that now or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me move. Oh, watch it. Yeah, wipe your hand. Wipe it. Oh, you can lick it. Hold that a minute, just a minute. Hold the napkin just a minute. Move that out of the way. Yeah, put this in your mouth. And drink the water and swallow. Drink the water. Norma, drink the water. Swallow. Go down. No. Drink some more water. You have to swallow that pill. It's no good if you don't. Norma, swallow the pill, please. Drink the water and swallow the pill. Get it down? No. Drink some more water. Do you remember when you had your blood clot?
No.
That's what that medicine's for, to keep you from having them. You got to drink, swallow the pill. Drink the water, Norma. Drink the water, Norma. You don't want me to force you to this. Swallow the pill. You have to, here, drink, finish a little bit of water left. Go down. After all that, all right, let's go take a shower.
All right.
Just leave everything like that, be all right.
I was called in because George said, I don't understand this. She does this on purpose. I'm telling you. Oh my God, she has gotten so stubborn. I have never seen her like this. She is so freaking stubborn. She won't do it. She won't do it. She won't do it. And then she just does it. She knows what I'm asking her to do. She just won't do it. Ah! I'm afraid I'm going to hurt her. Pause. So I'm going to ask you to go back to your breakout room and see if you were right about what was happening for someone in an amber state. Don't forget George.
All right. Oh, she didn't make it back, but she was right. Oof. So what was happening there? What was the sneaky part that tried to happen?
Getting her to take her medicine.
Yeah, so eating, going great. Eating, going great. Drinking the water, going great. What's not going great? That medicine. What's the mistake now that you're seeing that George is making that is based in sensory intolerance or confusion?
Yeah, once she drank on her own, she swallowed, hand motion and swallowed.
But why is she not swallowing the medicine with the water?
Seemed like he was giving it to her at first.
Yeah, but even still, she was swallowing the water just fine.
Yeah.
She'd been eating.
She'd been eating. And
So-
yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
No, I was just going to say, if you'd given her a drink to begin with before the tablets, she might have.
Maybe it would have swallowed together. What about the eating, texture of eating versus texture of the medicine? Sorry, it sounds like a fun time over there, but what is the pill? Is it liquid or something else?
Something else.
It's not a liquid. And so if you're asking me to drink the water, she's drinking the water. What might he have done that would have made her make sense of what was happening here texturally?
Explain more in more detail what he was trying to get her to do.
Try to get her to do something else. If drinking the water isn't seeming to get that pill to go down, what was she able to do right before that?
She was eating and swallowing.
Oh, she was eating and swallowing. So rather than introducing a drink to take down solid food, solid pill, what might be more effective?
Mix it in applesauce.
Maybe something a little more substance. Yeah.
Just toss it in there so she'd swallow the applesauce with it.
All right. So Amanda, what did your group talk about or come up with while they were there? What'd you guys?
They had identified that this was potentially a sneaky maneuver that did not go as planned. So that part they had nailed before the video clip. Mm-hmm. But the tricky situation, he was trying to get her to swallow something solid with a liquid, and it just wasn't meshing.
After she had just finished doing what? What had she been doing?
She was eating.
She was eating, and when you eat, what are you supposed to do?
Chew and swallow, chew and swallow. And there was nothing to chew.
And so the pill's there, and she wasn't as skillful as I was. She wasn't quite as skillful. My pill was bigger. What was I able to do with my pill?
Chew it up, yeah.
The front part of my teeth, my precision teeth, my nippers, the front part of your incisors are your nippers, and your molars are your grinders. So it starts to get really important at this point in dementia that we understand how human bodies do things. And what we do is we nip in the front and we grind on the sides. Guess what Norma's mostly doing?
Nipping.
Is she putting it over and grinding it?
No,
she's just nipping it apart because she's better in the front than she is on the side. And then what does she do? She takes the sip and washes it down. So most of the action in Norma's mouth is taking place in the front. So when he puts the pill in, it's a little pill, and she's trying to do the same kind of thing, but it's harder for her to do it. Mine actually cracked open and I was able to get it in pieces, but then I couldn't manage all the pieces because it went into pieces. And it was sort of bitter tasting, and I didn't really like that. And what might I do if I really don't like it? I didn't do it, but what could I have done?
Spit it out.
Spit it out. So instead, what did she do every time George wanted her to drink something? She drank something. I mean, she wasn't being ornery. She actually did exactly what he was showing her and getting her to do. He was cueing her really well for drinking. What he wasn't getting is that there's no way she could figure out that what he was asking, because he thought all his words had value. Was she getting many of his words at all? Was she getting that she was in trouble? You think she was starting to pick up on he's not happy? What did you see her doing with her arms and her hand? Did she push out against him at all? No. George was a former Marine during World War II. He served in Iwo Jima. He and Norma had been married for well over 50 years. He made the table. She did the decoration on top of the table. Both of them are very crafty. Both of them are very, George was definitely committed to her care. And so he was trying really hard. Unfortunately, he was missing some information that was really important. What did he believe had happened with Norma?
She was choosing not to take the medicine. She was skillfully putting it to the side so that she didn't take the medicine.
She even understood what the pill was for, and she was still doing this stuff. And she was doing it on purpose to irritate him. She was getting really stubborn. Now, was any of that accurate? Would it work for me to try to share that with George in the moment? So what do you think? So this was just the start of the day. I'm going to show you the next part of the day, which was the shower. So George trying to help Norma take a shower. So we'll watch that for a few seconds, and then we'll watch George trying to help Norma get her dentures out. And then we'll help, because guess what George's day is pretty much full of at this point?
Norma.
Self-care with Norma. It's not a full day. They don't get to do anything. Norma doesn't actually have anything she does other than this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is she a high energy, high seeking, high? So what's the only thing George is frustrated about?
Completing tasks.
She's not doing any. I mean, she can't get her to do things. She's being really stubborn. She's uncooperative. She seems to like to cause him distress. In fact, as soon as he stood up to go do the shower, we're going to take your pill and then go take a shower. Do you want to take your pill? He stood up. Why did her hand end up in the food? Anybody figure that out? What'd you notice she did with her feet?
She was ready to stand
She was
up.
getting ready to stand up and follow George. She wasn't sure where they were going, but she knew she was supposed to follow him. So as soon as he got up, she started copying what he'd done, and she put her hand on the table to get ready to stand up, and it just happened to land in the toast. So she's actually really, really cooperative. Now, one of the problems is she's had several falls recently, which is the other thing George reported, and she's falling too. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this because she just falls. I don't know if you noticed when he was walking away, he was holding her hand and walking ahead of her, or maybe I pulled away before then. So let's take another look. Let's take a look at them at the shower. Let's see what happens next at the shower situation.
Yeah, it's your turn that way. Is that too hot? Pretty hot?
So she's standing in the shower. What you don't know is her back is to the shower spray. All they have is a regular shower that comes from above. And her back is to the shower, and he adjusts the temperature, and then he just turns the shower on. What do y'all think about that? And then he says, "Is that too hot?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay." And then he's adjusting it.
Is that better? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Give me the washcloth and the soap, and I'll soap it up for you. Norman.
Okay, so give me the washcloth and the soap and I'll soap it up for you. How many of you think there's a high probability with just the words, Norma will be able to follow those directions? What do you think Norma's going to need as an Amber to be able to do this?
Visual direction.
Visual cueing, one step at a time. Let's see what happens for George.
Give me the soap over there in the dish.
So he reached in and got the washcloth.
Norma. The soap in the dish. Turn the other way. You'll see it. Right there in the dish. Give me. Yeah. All right, put that in the dish now. The soap back in the dish. I look this way to me.
Okay, now after all that, he starts washing her face. So she's wet. He turns off the shower. The bathroom door is open into the bedroom. And he starts by washing her face. How many of you all think that is reasonable, logical, and is going to be a good plan? How long has George been leaning over the tub so far? A minute and 26, a minute plus. He's leaning forward over the tub to reach into her.
Turn this way just a little bit towards.
Now she could hand him the soap when he directed her. What is he doing now, though?
Doing it all for her.
He's doing it all for her. So what is she using her hands for now?
Probably to keep warm. I know I would be.
Or just standing there not using her hands. So when I said, when you have somebody who has this low sensory behavior, what happens to their abilities without us realizing it? Because it's so easy for us to take things on and take things over and start doing things because it seems like they're not really demanding and they're very tolerant. You can get away with a lot. What do we start doing and not realizing we're doing? We're robbing them. I mean, we literally are robbing them of opportunities to do things. I mean, if she could pick up the soap and hand it to George, why wouldn't she be able to take the washcloth and wash some of herself? And she probably needs visual cues, but so this is, as I'm watching this situation, it's like, wow, lots of opportunities being lost here.
So I don't have to reach so much. I'll turn around and I'll wash your back. Turn that way. No, don't walk up. You don't have to walk up. Just turn. Turn it right there. Turn right there. Turn so I can wash your back.
I got it.
Well, turn. A little more. Turn a little more. Come on. You know how to do it.
You know how to do it.
I'll cut the water back on, you rinse off. Okay?
So what are you thinking? What's your feel and thought about this? What's your first emotion that comes to mind when you watch this?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. What else? Anybody else?
I think that's kind. I'm kind of pissed.
You're feeling a little pissed that it's happening like this. And
Yeah.
are you pissed because George never got good training about how to do this? Or are you pissed because George is being sort of like a Marine and getting it done and taken over?
No, the Marine part is his nature. That's his history. So yeah, it's the education, the training for to unmarine it.
Yeah, to see what Norma is doing, to better understand his wife. Because I mean, he loves his wife. I mean, he clearly loves his wife. He has continued to do her care. I mean, this has been years into her dementia now. And he has lost a lot of connections in the environment, in the world around him. He used to be with Knights of Columbus. He used to volunteer. He used to be in schools doing volunteer work, telling about World War II to kids. He used to do a lot of things, but over time, Norma's care has become more and more and more. And it's all he does all day long. So not only is Norma not finding things that give her a sense of value and purpose and pleasure and things that are good for her brain and her body, all she's getting is self-care done. Who else is getting that same missing? Who's missing the same kind of stuff? George. So George is really showing lots of signals of really having a hard time with language, having a hard time with thinking, but he's doing it. I mean, he continues to do it, but it's really hard. So and it's hard for sometimes people to watch this because it just feels, oh my God.
Teepa, was there any adjustment? I know this was videoed with obviously permission. Was there any adjustment to his normal routine with her in the shower in this instance, or this is pretty much what he does on a normal basis?
This is pretty much what he did. He said, and he described it. He was real open. He really was. The only thing we did is he kept the curtain, I think, more in place than he would have, because he started not to pull the curtain. He said, oh, but the water will come out. Not, oh, Norma will be exposed, which sort of also said what about his relationship with Norma? What has happened to his relationship with Norma?
It becomes very task oriented. It's a task I have to complete.
So it's
not
task.
a person.
And so he wasn't saying, boy, I would be really embarrassed for my wife to be seen naked by the film crew. That really wasn't, I mean, he wasn't worried. It was really interesting. I thought he would be much more protective. I was the one that said, why don't we keep the shower curtain in place? And he goes, oh yeah, the water would come out.
And so that was like a 2-minute clip, right? I mean, that's like another 2-minute clip, which actually for me watching, I was like, that is actually incredibly fast in my brain watching this thing.
Yep.
Which I found really surprising. I thought that was going to be a lot longer.
Yeah, no, he does a really quick shower. She's in, she's out, she's done. Because he's tired. He's tired of leaning over the shower, so he hits the high spots. So what's the advantage of the shower? Because she has a hair thing on. I mean, why are we doing a shower, do you think?
It's the fastest way to get somebody completely wet, done, and out. And that pausing of the water is something I would never do, but that is what my husband does. He pauses the water.
My husband pauses the water when he soaps up. I am like, why would you do that? I mean, then all the cold air comes in. That doesn't make any sense to me. How many of you keep the water running in the shower while you're in the shower? How many of you turn off the water when you soap yourself up? Okay, so do we know what Norma's pattern was before George? No, what's her pattern now?
George's pattern is.
Whatever George's pattern is. Can George see that there would be any value in Norma's pattern right now? No, so it was a really good pickup for 2 reasons. So is there really a reason we would need to do a shower with Norma?
Yeah, when you first pointed out how long it took to get the washcloth and then get the soap and then start with her face, I'm thinking to myself, we could have done this without getting in the tub. We can just stand at the sink.
Well, and we didn't show you the part about getting in the tub. Step over. No, Norma, step over. You've got to pick your foot up. Pick your foot up. Pick your foot up, up. No, pick it up. No.
Yeah.
Norma.
I also noticed there were no grab bars. And we couldn't see the floor, but I'm really worried about a bath mat.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Good pickup. All those things, good pickup. So you saw George doing that. Now we're going to watch George with the dentures. Now, Norma only does the dentures every other day. Even though we take a shower every day, he only takes the dentures out every other day because they don't fit very well. And in North Carolina, you only get new dentures every 5 years. If you are Medicaid, 5 years, you have to wait 5 years for new dentures. So her dentures don't fit very well. So he uses a lot of adhesive to keep them in place. So why does he wait for 2 days to change the dentures out, to clean the dentures?
Probably very difficult and stressful and
bingo, you got it. He can't get them out on day one. He has to wait till the adhesive wears off a little bit so he's able to get them out on day 2. So here we go. This is day 2 of trying to get the dentures out.
Norma, I forgot one thing. We need to clean your teeth this morning. We didn't clean them yesterday morning. Get over here. What we'll do is take your teeth out and let them clean, and we'll go get dressed, okay? Stay right here.
Okay, now, what did y'all notice already? Talking, touching, and water running. And we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to go get dressed.
Take your teeth out, please. Norman, take your teeth out of your mouth.
Now, did he give a decent visual cue that time? She said what? And he did, take your teeth out. And so Norma reaches up and...
Norma, we have to get your teeth out of your mouth because we didn't take them out yesterday. And I got to clean them for you. Yeah, see that? That was easy to come out. Now get the uppers out.
So Norma takes out the bottom teeth. Now, what do y'all remember about how much gnawing around and messing around on the bottom teeth she did with the food and the pill? Which ones are looser? Bottom ones. Uh-huh.
Get your upper teeth out. Norma, get your upper teeth out.
What is Norma watching George do?
Brush the teeth.
Clean her teeth. What the hell is he talking about? I mean, here's my teeth right there. You know, if Norma gets something, it's like, well, you got my teeth. I don't understand what you want. What does Norma not understand about dentures at this moment? There's two sets.
I can't get your teeth out. You have to take them out for me. Up there, that teeth. Take the upper teeth out. Take your upper teeth out.
So George touches her teeth. That doesn't seem to do anything. Then he pushes her arm up toward her mouth. And that sort of startles her a little bit.
Norma, take your upper teeth out.
So that's all I can do.
Well, that's all I can do. What is she actually saying to George?
I don't understand.
I have no idea what you want me to do. I mean, I did what you said. I gave you my teeth. I don't know what you want. And so George now, what do we know about George now? What is he not able to understand?
That she didn't understand.
That she doesn't understand. So he's dropping further and further into what state now? He was Emerald. What is he now?
Amber.
Here we go.
Well, turn this way towards me. Turn towards me. Open your mouth.
All right. Take a look at his fingers on the back of her neck. Take a look at his face. Make your face like George's face. What is he doing with his upper teeth?
Trying to show her what he needs.
What is he doing with them though?
Clenching them.
He's clenching them. So what is Norma doing?
Clenching.
She's copying George. She is clenching as hard as she can. What is ticking George off? She won't open her mouth to let the teeth come out. What doesn't he have a clue? Zero clue at this moment. He's the one showing her to clench her teeth. And the next day he said, I don't understand where she got these bruises on the back of her neck.
You're making it hard for me. You have to take them out. I can't get them out. Get them out so we can clean them.
He thrust her hand up again. And this time, oh, okay, I got it.
That's it. Come on, you got them. Good. Thank you.
All right. So now what? What do y'all think now? What are you thinking and feeling?
I feel almost sad just because he's still kind of interacting with her how she used to be, not how she is now. And, you know, you can see the frustration in his eyes because he wants to care for her as best as he can, but he feels like she's resisting that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is real pain. This guy is in real pain. I mean, this guy is really in acute distress. He is going in and out of an amber state, in and out of an emerald state. He barely can hang on to diamond. And he's all alone. There is no one else. So he calls on me from 2 years ago. I haven't heard from this guy in 2 years. When I heard from him when he had a heart attack and Norma was in the house all by herself and he was having a heart attack and he needed somebody to go to the house because he didn't want the police showing up at the house because Norma was there all alone. So he called the Alzheimer's Association at 5:30 on a Friday night to see if they called from their hospital emergency room to see if there was anybody there who maybe could go to the house and check it out. Guess who hadn't left for home yet? Oops. So this is looking pretty significant. So why am I harping into this? Because is Norma somebody we would normally be concerned about? Why are we concerned about Norma?
No, she would be termed compliant.
Yeah.
In most settings, and probably then over medicated in a way that would keep her doing if she wasn't, or you bring in 2 or 3 people because she'll just take it.
Yeah. What will she do in her other time? How spontaneous active will she be?
Seems very slow in movements. Like she's not one that you would worry about touching the hot stove because you'd have time to.
Has she spontaneously spoken at all other than in response to something? No. Has she spontaneously used her hands in any way other than when cued in some fashion? Wow. So she is one of these people that in an amber state gets totally missed as someone who really needs programming. I mean, she needs programming just as desperately as Mary needs programming, but because the only person who's seeing her as a challenge now is George. Why is George seeing Norma as a challenge?
She's not doing what he wants her to do.
He's lost his wife. This is not his wife. This woman is not behaving like his wife. When she was in Emerald State, things were okay because she was still able to follow most of the language cues. And so it still seemed as though she was there, even though she was less active. He was getting used to that and he could do things around the house. She would follow him around, but it wasn't horrible. It was okay because she still talked some, but now the talking is fading. So here's the last piece, and I'm showing you mostly this because I want you to see her abilities. And yet I also want you to see humor, because this is a moment for me that makes this incredibly interesting. Okay, so here we go. Oh, by the way, a lot of falls happen in this situation. Let's see if you can figure out why there might be some falls in this situation.
Let's slip this on. Got it? There you are.
Look at the posture on George again. Look at whose hands are doing anything.
I'll get your socks and let you put them on, all right?
He goes across the room, he opens the sock drawer, and while he's standing over there, he tosses the socks back to her. And
he caught him.
She catches him. I want to know who in this Zoom room would ever think of going across the room after working with a woman like you've just worked with her, go over to the drawer across the room and throw socks at her. How many of you would have anticipated she would catch them? Ooh. No, but she does. And so there's a moment, a glimmer just for George. There's this moment of hope. She did really well. And so George now is hopeful again, even after the morning so far. And
Put your socks on. Can you do that this morning for me?
now at this moment, how many of you are hopeful? How many of you have hope that she's going to put the socks on? Yeah. What was the last fine motor task she just did prior to coming in here? What did she do right before she got in here? Took out her dentures.
No, no, no. Put it on your foot here.
Never mind.
Here, you pull it up.
What has she figured out George wants her to do? Put socks on. Did she understand about pulling up the socks? What did he immediately reach for? The other sock. So what is Norma trying to do? Give him what he's looking for.
I think you enjoy me doing everything for you.
Accurate or inaccurate? Yikes. So here's what we want to do. What do we think we could do here? What could we do? What do we need to do? What do you think? What do you think I need to do? Before I do anything else, what do I need to do?
Call George. I'm sorry.
I need to assess Norma, because what I've seen is I've assessed George and I've assessed George's assessment of Norma. What do I know that George's assessment of Norma is? She's doing this on purpose. She understands what's going on. He actually thinks she might like that he's doing everything for her. He thinks that she chooses to not do things she can do. What am I really aware of? The environment, George's distress and exhaustion and frustration, Norma's abilities that don't seem to be used, Norma's emptiness, George's emptiness, the level of distress in the system. So For the very next day, I came out and took over everything. And George said, I'm going to go do the dishes. You work with her, see if you can get her to do anything. He was really needing what? He needed a break desperately. He needed to move away from her, and he needed to know she was cared for by somebody who was going to be okay. What does that mean he had established with me 2 years ago? Trust. He could trust me. He felt like he could trust me. He could trust that I would try to do the right thing by Norma, and she would be okay with me. I would not put her in a risky, dangerous situation. He could step away from her and I would be okay, and Norma would be okay. So he could go in the other part of the house and pay no attention to what we were doing. Whew. So what we're going to do is, do you want to take a look at me working with Norma before you take a break? Because I know it's time for you guys to take a break, but do you want to watch a few episodes of me working with Norma for just a couple minutes? Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to show you is this next thing that we're going to do is you're going to see me instead working with Norma in the shower. So the first thing you're going to notice is I made several shifts. I made several modifications when I came in, because it wasn't just about me. I wanted to assess the environment, and I'd already assessed some of the environment. Teffy's mentioned a couple things. So here's where I'm going to start working with Norma in the shower.
We're going to undo your gown. Okay. Okay, take your gown off. Here you go. Pull up. Here. Hold to it. That's it. Got it? Okay, let's pull it up over your head. Good. There we go. All right. Good. Okay, put your cap on. Good. Okay. You have it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, turn this way and hold on right here.
Okay.
Right here. Turn toward the tub. Here you go. That's it. Good. And step in. All right. Good. Okay. And then you can turn around and sit down.
Oh, Teepa.
Sit down on the chair.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, you can. Turn toward me. That's it. Good. That's it. You got it. Good. And have a seat. Okay, good. I'm going to turn the water on and get it warm. All right, Norma, feel this water and see how it is. Feel that water. How's that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to wet the washcloth so you can wash your face. Okay, here. Wash your face.
All right. So have I wet her at all?
Not really.
Okay, so what are some significant shifts you've already seen?
The shower chair, the handheld shower, and the fact that you were giving her instructions and she's following them.
Yep. What else have I got her doing in the shower stall? She's standing up anymore?
No.
No, I've got her sitting down. I mean, I'd rather her focus on one thing at a time. And do I really think showering is the best option? No, but do I want to change so many things on George that he can't find his rhythm?
Right.
So it's sort of this balancing act. So we could move forward in this one, and you would see more of me allowing Norma to do what Norma can do. So Norma's doing more of her own self-care. So we go through the shower, and now I'm going to, the next thing we're going to go to is instead of doing the mouth care next, because actually, according to George, we wouldn't do it, but I did go ahead and do mouth care. But the next thing I'm going to do is dressing. So let's see what I do in the dressing area. Let's see, because I don't leave her in the bathroom trying to get her underwear on and her bra on in the bathroom, which George would have her stand at the counter and then pick her feet up and try to get them in the brief that she was wearing, and then try to do the bra while she's standing at the counter as well. So I opted for going into the bathroom, into the bedroom for everything else. So let's take a look and see what else changed.
Seat right there. Perfect. That's it. Good. Okay, now, here's your pants to put on. Okay, you're going to put them on your feet. Okay, put this foot in. Okay, let's put them down here. Put your foot in. Good. Okay, now put your other foot in. Yeah, pull them on up. Pull them up hard. You got them? They're getting they're sort of stuck. How's that? Is that okay? All right. I think that's good. Okay. Sit down. Let's put your socks on. Okay. Here's your sock. There. Need some help? Scoot back in the chair a little bit. There you go.
What did she just do?
Look at that flexibility and two-step commands.
I said, you know, put your sock on. She spontaneously started to put her sock on. The next thing I say is scoot back in the chair. She automatically stops what she's doing, scoots herself back in the chair. And now check this. You thought it was flexible before. Check this out.
Dang, I don't know that I can do that.
No. And look what she does.
I think you got it.
Her statement, I
Stuff
can't
in.
get
There
it.
you go. Perfect. Good job. All right. Here's the other one.
What are we seeing here?
Would this be going into like an emerald state? Because
Oh my gosh, she is turning into an emerald state right here. She is going from task to task. All I'm helping with actually is her transitions.
Nice work.
She's got all the fine motor. She's got bilateral fine
Okay.
motor skill.
Now, here are your slacks. Let me turn them. Here you go.
Problem solves how to get her foot in.
Wow.
And I don't say a word.
Here's your bra. Have you got the front? Okay, get the front. You adjusted? You got it now? Let's see. Okay. Here, let's reach in here and pull these up a little bit. Get that straightened out. How's that?
Okay.
All right, here's your shirt. Have a seat. There you go. That's a pretty top.
Yeah.
Looks good on you. Okay. Now, shoes.
So I'm going to pause here. What are y'all noticing?
She doesn't even need prompting.
She doesn't even need much prompting. All she needs is positioning. And I mean, was this a really long, drawn out, frustrating process? What made me less frustrated?
she was able to do a lot of the tasks, so you were
did a
just
lot.
guiding her.
All I
Yeah.
had to do was guide. What was the hardest part for me, do you think?
Watching her struggle.
Watching her work a little bit and
Not talking,
not talking.
because he was doing an endless litany the entire time.
Yep. And what did I also have to do? Because I don't want to get exhausted standing there and waiting. What did I do for myself?
You were sitting and sitting.
I sat down. I created a seating place for myself that I could move around. It was available. So I could sit and be still. So I wasn't distracting. I wasn't leaning over Norma. I wasn't in her immediate space, but I was immediately available. What else was different in that bedroom?
The chair had armrests.
Ah, the chair had arms and
it was covered with a white towel.
And it was covered with a white towel that was high contrast to the rug and high contrast the surround. So with those changes, what did we see about her?
She was a different lady. I mean, she was more engaged, stimulated. She was
just like a totally different lady. So rather than having care done to her, what is happening with her hands? What is happening with her eyes, her body, her hips? Everything. Does she look and sound different?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is she going to be a ball of energy? But is she different already?
Yeah.
And the tricky part is, how am I going to help George be able to take this on? So what do you think I could do with George? Because this is now my next step. And I will tell you, I did this for 5 days in a row. We only filmed one day, but I did it 5 more days. Why did I need to do it 5 more days?
She just likes you better, and that's why she's not giving you a hard time.
So one was to verify this wasn't a one-off. This wasn't a lucky draw. This wasn't just a good day. What else?
To establish the routine for her, get her.
I needed to really make sure this routine was actually going to work. I needed to verify this was going to be something I could share with George. I could get confirmed that this works, that works. All lower body dressing, then all upper body dressing.
And that was deliberate, the lower body, because I would have finished the underwear before I would.
Yeah, you would, because that's a natural rhythm. But what was she having a lot of trouble with multiple times when she got her hands involved? What's the next thing? What was the last fine motor she really had done? She took off her nightgown, so it was an upper body dressing. So I gave her the brief and her brain said upper body dressing, and she started to put her hands in it like she was going to put on a shirt. So I wanted to do lower body, lower body, lower body before I switched to upper body, and then go back for the shoes, because the shoes are a slip-on. I'm less worried about the shoes.
And when did George come in and start looking at this?
Not until 5 days had gone by. 5 days, he was happy to stay in the kitchen the whole time. He actually made a coffee cake for me. He made treats for me. He went and did stuff. He did things for me. He did really nice things for me. And then he and Norma and I would have snacks. He and Norma and I would look at things together. He would bring out the picture books of when he and Norma had done crafts together. What was George? Exhausted and lonely. I mean, and he couldn't figure out. So part of the rehab was with Norma, but part of the restore was with George. George and Norma both were in really bad places. And so it took 5 days to get George into a place where he was. How many times do we, as, let's say, interveners, spend 5 days doing something with somebody so staff can get a break? Because I'm going to take it away from George. It wasn't just about George and Norma. It's anybody who has been doing something for a long time and not feeling successful, not feeling like there's any other way out of this. Guess what they need first, frequently?
They need a break.
They just need a break. They need to totally step away from it so they are recharged enough that when I introduce something, they aren't going to go back immediately to, that's not going to work. You did it, but she won't do it for me. I know she won't. I've got to give them some space, some time and some space so that their brains can relax enough that we can re-enter this. And then what's the first thing I'm going to point out to them so they can really see the differences? What's the easiest thing for them to see? Do you think? And it's not Norma and it's not me.
Changing the environment?
The environment, the stuff I did in the environment, because when you change the environment, they say, oh yeah, it's because you got the new chair. Oh, it's because you have the bath bench. Oh, it's because you did this. Oh, because you did that. So they can assign responsibility for the change to the stuff. Because is George a stuff person or a person? In this one, he's all about the stuff. He's all about the tasks. He's all about the getting it done. He just is who he is. What's Norma?
Hesitant.
She's a hesitant
follower.
People.
Follower, connector. She will connect to people, but she's real hesitant. I mean, she's not a seeker. She's an absorber. So here's the last, let's go take a break. Let's go take a break. There's one more video, two more videos I want you to see. One is immediately after the morning, what George says about the morning, because it's so revealing. And the other is I want you to see Norma with her dentures. I actually take them out the very next day. It's an experience. So, but I want us to do that. And then when we come back, we have a few more things that I want to do before we finish. And you've got 15 minutes at the end for your questions about amber engagement. Any questions or thoughts you have about amber engagement? During this segment, I'm going to give you a puzzle to think about before I show you the last part of George and Norma. I want you to think about what I was doing with these Cheerios. Let me see if I can come in closer here. What do you see about how I'm doing this?
Clearly identifying each individual Cheerio and putting it in your mouth one at a time.
Yeah, so I have some decent fine motor and eye-hand coordination. I'm doing some bilateral things. My non-dominant hand is holding the container upright, and so I can see it. Actually, I tip it so I can see in. I'm eating one at a time. I'm chewing them. Now I'm swallowing.
And you're doing a texture thing with your fingers, like I
am.
Maybe it's the crumbs left on or whatever. Yeah.
I've got an alignment. So I actually hold them so that I've got just the edge of them. So I'm going to be able to do what when I put them in my mouth?
Crunch on it.
I can pull it off with my lips. I can drop it in, catch it with my lips, and then crunch it up. So, ooh. What did I find? Oh, it's a bead. That's a whole little thing of beads. Now, here's the good thing. Look. Kind of a cool idea, because what am I doing with it? What's happening here?
We can't see it.
Oh, okay. Let me back up a little bit. Let me see if I back up a little, if you'll be able to see what I'm doing.
You're threading with it.
I'm threading them. Yeah. So I'm literally, well, let me just back
You're
up.
using that same fine motor skill to do something.
Oh, so
stimulating.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm doing something that might be, because what did Norma used to do?
Craft.
All kinds of craft stuff. So this is where our brain could take old data, like, oh, Norma used to do crafts a whole lot. I've seen her do a whole lot with her fingers and her hands. But then part of us says what? Oh,
she's gonna eat the bead.
She's gonna eat the. She will eat those beads. Sure enough, she will eat those beads. So if she took a bead and she put it up here, does it feel or act the same? So what do you think she might do with it instead? Why did she do this with it? Because she wanted to eat it, or because she was checking it out? Is she a very rapid, quick, do something really fast? Or is she real hesitant? So what could you hand her in substitution, and she would hand you that bead right away if she did do that?
A Cheerio.
A Cheerio, you can put your Cheerio on your hand and hand it out. Here you go, Norma. So if it looked like she wanted to do that instead, you could just spontaneously hand her the other and go, okay, all right, well, that didn't work the way I want. Or we could go, hey, Norma, yeah, not that. Here, let's try this. Do I want to set up with a bead and strings right next to her?
Mm-hmm.
What if I use these beads versus those beads versus those Cheerios? What am I doing that's making it clearer that this is not the same activity? Or, I know, here's another way my brain could do this. You ready? Now, how many of you went, oh yeah, I thought of that already? And how many of you went, oh, yeah, have her string Cheerios. What do I have on the end though? A bead that's tied on. Why? Because I don't want the Cheerios to fall off the other end. And I hadn't figured out how to tie a Cheerio on so it wouldn't crunch if she pushed down on them. So I did tie a bead on. But guess what? There are 2 different, 3 different, 4 different ways to do something like this. Our problem is what happens for us. That's not safe. We shouldn't do this. Oh my gosh. Oh God. And what we do is we rob people of possibilities. We rob people of opportunities. We don't think hard enough so that snip, snip, snip could still take place, because I can control when the scissors come out. I mean, for somebody like Norma, even for somebody like Teepa, who might I not want to try it with?
Mary.
Somebody like Mary, because she might get a little possessive of these scissors and I might have a hard time keeping up with where they are. So I may not do it with Mary, but does that mean I can't do it with anybody who's in an amber state? No. And this whole thing where we get in our heads, oh no. Okay. And the whole idea of Mary used to, or, Norma used to do crafts. So why are we robbing her of all crafts? Well, because George did woodworking. George didn't do crafts. And if George is the only care provider, George never even thinks of crafts. He's having a hard enough keeping his head above water, just getting care done. How often does that happen in communities where we have care staff and we have engagement staff? What happens is you do that, I'll do this because I don't have enough time to get that done. I'm spending all my time trying to get this done. And unfortunately, what we're often doing is taking away possibilities because we compartmentalize ourselves into these boxes. And this is mine and that's yours. Yeah. And what we should be saying, well, this is our situation. How are we going to figure this out? So let's take a look at me with Norma and the dentures. And this is the very next day. And the camera crew, unfortunately, made a slight mistake. They didn't turn on their camera visual right away, although they turned on the audio, but they missed the visual. So you hear an audio, but not the visual to start with.
Can you get them? Not quite. Okay, let me give you a hand. Okay, let's do your upper teeth. Here you go. Open.
Mouth.
There you go. I'm going to pull down on them. You ready?
Oh.
Okay, you pull. Pull down. There you go. Okay, take them out.
So what technique did you just see me using here?
Hand under hand.
Hand under hand with support on her back for stability. And what she did is we pulled the upper denture downward with her hand in my hand, and it finally released. And her ooh was, wow, that was harder to get out than I thought. Which, since it was the very next day, does not surprise me. We actually did it before she got in the shower. We did it before we started taking a shower.
Good. And put them in here. Yeah. Right in here. Okay. Now let's get your bottom teeth. That's it. Yeah, there's a pieces of cereal, huh? Okay, let's get back here. Okay, take your teeth out. put them right in here. Good, okay. Now, let's rinse your hands.
So what did you see her do the second time? After I showed her the first time, what did she do on the second set of dentures? Put them right in.
Off. Rinse your fingers off. Good. And here's your mouthwash. Okay, you can spit right here in the sink. Good. Okay. And you can spit right there. Good. All right. Okay, let's go take a...
What do you notice?
She seems so much more, I don't know, interactive,
She's
lively almost.
Yeah, she's very responsive. I mean, it's like, wow. It's just sort of really remarkable. That was actually like the very first thing I did with her before I even had her in the shower, before I helped with dressing. That was the very first thing we did that morning. Other than I helped her get up, helped her go in and get breakfast and then come. So how important is it that we have somebody who can be with Norma and truly allow Norma to be herself?
Very.
Yeah. Did we see a very different woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so did George. When George watched this, when he did watch it, which was 6 days later, he said, wow, that looks like Norma. How did you get her to do that? But it took 6 days before George was able to take a look at it. He had no interest in looking at anything until after 6 days. So let's take a look at this element. So this is the very end of the morning, by the way. This is sort of at the end of the morning. This is George back in the bathroom.
Okay. You're looking good this morning, girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's your brush. Let me have you do that for a minute.
What'd you notice?
She could complete the task with that.
Here's your brush, and she does the entire thing. What else did you notice? She does her hair differently than the way George did it. George brushed her hair toward her face, and she immediately brushed her hair away from her face.
And she was checking with herself.
And she was checking herself in the mirror. She was actually watching her action in the mirror. Is that very Amber-like or something else?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is George's comments, though.
So how are you feeling now, George?
Tired. She did pretty good this morning.
But you're still worn out, even though she did well.
Oh yeah, God, it's a tough. This is an easy one. I didn't lose my cool.
George's assessment of the morning, it was an easy one. He didn't lose his cool. So how many staff would say, I mean, I was fine. She is just so hard to work with. How many times do you hear that in an Amber situation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's really going on then? And this is the really hard part, is to help people without, because people see the gem states, even when I talk about gem states, they see it as just for dementia. What do we know about ourselves if we're really honest with ourselves? I go through these gem states every day. I mean, when I'm asleep, I'm a pearl. When I'm exhausted, I'm a ruby. When I've had my limit on a sensory, I'm an amber. When I can't figure out what it was I was doing, what the heck? God, I already did that. Oh my God, I can't believe I just did that again. Oh man, I meant not to. Emerald, when I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't understand why you signed me up for that. Very diamond-like. And then only part of the day am I a sapphire. So how aware are we as humans of our own gem state so that we can be super responsive to ourselves and know what we need? Did George understand what he needed in order to get this to be better? You think George knew what he needed? What did he think he needed?
Norma to do what?
Norma to quit being stubborn and do what she was supposed to. She knows what to do. She knows. Watch her. I mean, he truly believed that Norma was being ornery and stubborn and not his wife. And that's why he was so frustrated with her. And he really didn't think he'd really lost his temper at all. So this idea of creating engagement opportunities for Amber, it is really tricky. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 5 minutes because, we're getting close here. I want to give you 5 minutes though to go talk about, now that we've talked about somebody like Norma and somebody like George or a staff member, building this system, go and talk about where we are at now for master level, because this is master skill kind of thing, how to create programs for somebody in an amber state when there's a high risk that other people might not be able to stay sapphire. What can we do? How can we use environmental stuff? How can we use props? How can we use other things to help them let go of the idea and help them start to understand how they can be those supports, how this can work? So go talk a little bit about that.
All right. So what are you guys thinking at this point?
I'm thinking for myself how important it's going to be to have a team, a skilled team around me where my skills are strong and good. I can do this, but where I need some help and having somebody that's got those opposite skills of me.
Okay, so really thinking about what are my skills? What am I good at in this thing of providing or supporting someone in care? Am I good at self-care tasks? Am I good at assessing and supporting someone through self-care tasks? Or am I good at connecting with people? Which one, where do I actually shine so that I can partner with someone to make sure we've got both sets of skills covered? Because it's not one and the same. Connecting with someone in an amber state is not the same as providing a demonstration first, showing on me, and then supporting, possibly with hand under hand, possibly just with visual cueing, possibly with verbal cueing, through all of the self-care tasks. And which of the self-care tasks am I good at versus which ones are a struggle for me? Which ones do I not do for myself? So why would I be able to do them with someone else easily? Yeah, great thinking, Teffy. Anybody else have some thoughts on where to take this stuff?
I think mostly around speed and awareness. So, helping people, not just myself, but helping, the team around us realize that if we slow down and do that dynamic assessment, it will actually take less time to get through things than it does if we're continually forcing and fighting.
And such a hard battle of awareness of time, right? Because how long does it feel when you're sitting and watching someone like Norma struggle through getting her pants on and up? And yet, how long does it feel if you're the one that does it for her? And what's the reality?
Never. Yeah, it's always more time if you do it yourself.
How much time did you put in before that? Arguing and fighting and telling her to pull and doing this and doing that and how much time after? That stuff sort of goes away in our time awareness. Yeah, great, Dawn. That's really tricky. Alice, were you going to share something?
I think putting her in an environment where she can succeed and being patient enough to let her be comfortable in that environment instead of just keep pushing.
So instead of guiding and directing so specifically every moment of the day, instead creating an environment that's safe, but has multiple things, so she could maybe potentially show us what she's interested in doing instead of always having to create for her the experience.
Handing her the brush and letting her do how she.
Because who cares, right? Right, and if she brushes it a couple times, then are we going out? Are we going to even see anybody, or is it just me looking at it? Let it go. Yeah, tricky. Anybody else?
One of the things I noticed is it's important you get everything ready before. So you're not coming and going, you're not having her standing by the sink and you're moving her over there like George did, and then you've got the open door.
All these pieces, all this stuff that it's just, if you had come in a little more prepared with all your stuff within your arm's reach. Oh. Yeah, Sharon, great pickup. I think we're going to get wrapped up.
All right. Curiosity. Alejandro, what were your group's sort of thoughts and ideas here?
I think every person had something different and unique to kind of step away with. We talked a little bit about what staff's take on this thing might be, watching some differences, environmental changes that people noticed. We kind of had really different takeaways that were unique and different.
Yeah, cool. Amanda, how about your gang?
Just the awareness of pulling back, preparing differently, and knowing ahead of time that time is fleeting for how it feels in these times. So a lot of just let go of the awareness of how long things take, because it's going to be really different for each experience.
And how often we think something is taking a really long time, but if we look at objectively how long it took, is like, actually, that went quicker. Me helping Norma get dressed was actually shorter than George helping Norma get dressed, and I wasn't exhausted by the end of it. Huh. All right.
Yeah. And the setup, that prep thing Sharon brought in right at the end of preparing everything within your arm's reach. And Alice said, thinking about the environment for Norma, what's going to be interesting, because if she's not choosing any part of her day, that means, man, I'm creating every part of her day. And that's, again, exhausting. So
yeah, she's not a spontaneous person. She's so hesitant. I mean, she had to be set up with a newspaper. She had to be set up with the glasses on to read the newspaper. She has to be, everything has to be initiated by someone else, because Norma can't initiate anything anymore. Now, what happens after we give her that opportunity to engage? And I say, hey, Norma, come here. What might I start to see? She might actually start to show me more spontaneous behaviors, but she's never going to be quick and fast and quickly engaged. Whereas Teepa, you better be on your toes. You got to create a whole environment she's safe in, because Lord knows she'll be all over it. Mary, you got to figure out what you want to take out of her environment. So she can't have too much of any one thing, but you put new things in that environment so she'll have things to do, and things that can be moved around and washed and recycled and reused. And how do I create things that don't feel like hiding places, but feel like you can see something so you can check it out? Because I've got to keep Mary sort of curious. So I said I would show Mary in a different light. So I want to go show you Mary for just a second here, because I said I would show you how Mary looked a little different in a different situation. So this is Mary looking very similar. Again, watch this element of
How your hands feeling?
My hands feel good.
Let me feel them.
It is right
Oh,
there.
I'm thinking maybe some lotion. Here, go ahead and put a little bit
I
on.
don't want no work. I don't put that.
Now I discovered Mary's hands were very dry, and she's going to need some help to put some lotion on.
Twist the top off, right up there.
I need to cue her and help her. She can't quite figure out the container.
Give me a little
No,
squirt.
they real little now.
Yeah, they're real little, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Here, let's lay the top down.
Well,
We'll just lay it down.
put
And now
that
squirt
down.
it, squirt out a little bit. You squirt a little bit?
Mm-mm.
Now Mary's a lady who's very uncomfortable with things touching her or when she has things moving too
I
quickly.
did get it, didn't I?
So what I do is put the lotion on my hand, apply it to her palm, and then put a little bit on.
How's that feel?
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel good?
She's then able to take over the activity and finish
So
it.
what do you notice about this rhythmic sort of deeper pressure, sustaining? Start with her palm, do something that she just watched me do with my hands. What do you see her doing here? Is she collaborating with me? Did she understand all the steps of getting the lotion out of the container? Did she want to put it on herself at all? So we're back to that needing to demonstrate and show her how to do it on my body, and then do it on a surface that is the least problematic surface for her. Palm of the hand, palm of the hand. And so she starts doing this, and then
There you go.
Her hands get moisturized, but she's not really that excited about it. But watch what happens next.
What's over there? You see something over that way? A baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Oh, look at that.
Now it's important for you to know.
whoa, all of a sudden, here, that all hesitant about everything. Oh, there's a baby. Whoa, Mary's already ready to get up. Now, what do I have to be ready to do? Because she's ready to get up real quick. Gotta move the table because Mary's getting up here in a heartbeat, unless we do something else.
That Mary has been a child care provider her entire life.
All right, you want to go up and go see that baby?
Yeah, I'm going home anyway.
Are
so,
you? You can go check out that baby we got over there?
Let me see you now.
The meaningful part of her day is getting to provide care for this baby.
You gonna pick him up or you gonna let him lay?
You want him to go with you home? Hmm? You will see if you want.
Do you want me to get him or you gonna get him?
I can get him.
Okay, well go ahead and get him.
Now, how quick did that response come? Do you want me to get him up or are you going to get him? I got him. Don't you put your hands on my baby.
Get him.
And take him home with him.
It's important to note that Mary is so involved, she actually thinks this baby is a live baby, not a baby doll. So when staff are interacting with her or the baby, it's important that they keep that in mind and treat this baby doll as though it were a real baby, because to Mary, it is.
You ever walked in to eat, won't you?
Babies get like that, don't they?
Tell her, no, you like that. You don't want that.
Let's see. I have his blanket's over there.
I
Mary,
know.
his blanket's over there. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Oops, you got it? No, it fell.
No, he ain't gonna want it back there.
There you go.
No, I ain't gonna put it on there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure Mary gets an opportunity every day to do this meaningful baby care activity I also want to make sure I don't try to do this during an important self-care activity because, as you can see, she's very involved and very focused on the baby. It's going to be difficult for her to feel.
What would happen if I started to try to do something to Mary right now, or something with Mary that involved Mary's self-care activity right now?
Oh, you're gonna.
You got it. It would be a disaster. Take a look at this next sequence, though.
Feed herself, dress herself, or complete other tasks if she's worried about the baby instead of doing what I'm asking.
All right, come on, let's go.
Come on and get this, and this. You want one? You want two? Or you want three?
In this situation, Mary has a baby in addition to her baby doll. We're monitoring her for safety, but you can see she's taking care of the baby just as carefully as she does the doll.
You know what they do with them? They just put them down.
Now, you know how she wasn't making any eye contact with me, and she wasn't having much to do with me, and it took a lot of work to get her engaged with the hats. What are you noticing here?
She's very engaged, not one, but two, like the baby and the dog.
Two babies. She's got two babies, and she is doing care with both babies. She got two babies in her lap, and she is happy as all get out.
In the pack, then put them back down, back in there.
It's important to note, however, that she doesn't really seem to see the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, see? Some of these is your sisters now, some of your brothers.
It's your sister or your brother.
Although Mary clearly enjoys spending time with the baby, she also enjoys time with the baby doll, and therapeutically, it's just as effective for her.
Can I kiss you? Can I?
Love and bye.
Sweet boy, isn't he?
Say bye-bye.
Okay. I'll see you another time.
So, why did I want you to see that imagery with Mary the Amber?
See how beautifully she can rise to the occasion when given the thing that resonates with her.
Yeah, I mean, that thing about who has she been? She's been a child care provider her entire life, and it was always for white children. This was a small Southern town. She took care of white people's babies. So we offered her children of color. Guess what she said? She'd never been married, never had kids. Guess what she did with a child of color? This is none of mine. This is not mine. I don't know what you're doing here. So in that moment, it's that moment where you go, okay, I was trying to be ethnically, culturally, racially sensitive, and Mary's going, that's not mine. I don't do that. So what was she telling me? You need to know me. You need to know my story. I have to live my story. My story was I took care of white babies. And when they got a little bigger, I didn't take care of them anymore. I'd go find another small white baby to take care of. Because I don't like them when they start getting mouthy, and I don't like them when they start getting too bossy. I like them when they're little and they're loving, and you can do things with them. You can be the boss of them, you know, and they're great. I love it. She loved that stuff. So does it have value? And I think I'm probably wrong. I think there was therapeutic value in having a real live baby there. Why?
He interacted back with her.
He interacted back with her. What else? Who had trust that this woman could handle that baby?
Melanie.
Melanie Bunn, the baby's mom. I mean, Melanie had trust. I had trust. We all had trust. We were there, but Mary did great with the baby. Guess what the staff were? You're not going to give her a baby, are you? Oh my God, don't give her the baby. I mean, you never know what Mary's going to do. Just like the feeds. So our time is almost up. You have been on here for 4 hours. I'm curious, what questions do you still have?
I have a question. It's a situation that we've been dealing with that I would love some advice. So we have a gentleman, mostly he's just very laid back. He likes to enjoy the, seeing everyone coming and going.
So he's an observer surveyor. So he's a neighborhood surveyor. He loves to have a good seat where he can watch stuff.
Loves the window, but he also needs his own boundaries. And we find that when we eat in a group table, so there's usually 6 to 7 people eating at the table, and he becomes very possessive of his space as well as everything on the table. So if he sees a drink at the other end of the table that he wants, he will quickly escalate and become aggressive to get that. We've been struggling with, we'll provide him, like instead of taking away, we'll give him like, well, here's your drink, but he doesn't want that drink. He wants the drink that he's seen at the end of the table that belongs to another resident. And he's gotten aggressive. So we don't quite know how to handle that we can protect the other person and their property as well as give him what he needs.
Okay, so does he go to other tables and get drinks?
Well, there's only one table. It's a big dining room table. He'll get up and go and get that drink. Like he'll get up.
And so if it's his table, anything on that table is his.
Yes.
So the only way that and the reason I was asking, does he get up and go to another table and get drinks? His ownership is of the space that he's at. And so as long as he's at this large table, everything on that table is potentially his. And so we may want to think about, can we set him up with a surveillance table where he has a smaller table with one other partner, that the two of them sit at the table and they are not part of that large group? Because as soon as he gets in the large group, he has to be the boss of the large group. Everything on that table is his. So one thing to think about is, let's modify the environment first to give him a smaller ownership of the table. And whoever's seated with him, and I would recommend at first a staff member who has food and drink, and it doesn't matter if he takes their food and drink because they're mostly there as props, and see what he does at a smaller table with one other person seated with him. And then he can see the table, but it's maybe off to his left a little bit, and he's got his back against a wall. So he's absolutely safe. There's nothing moving behind him. He's really easygoing. But there's not a lot of traffic in front of him either. And so he has his own table, but that table is a smaller table. And the stuff on that table, truly, it could all be his for that matter. And he visually can regard everybody, which is what it's sort of like he's at a restaurant. And so think about it, he's at a restaurant. How might he behave at a restaurant? And if he's sort of laid back, most people don't get up at a restaurant and go to another table and take off the food off the table. That if I paid for the meal, everything on that table is mine.
That makes sense, because he would be like, he likes to sit at the end of the table. Like if you try to direct him to the side of the table, no, he wants the end of the table. That's his spot. And he's made it quite clear from the beginning that he's very territorial at that spot. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So we may need to look at a table that's got some length to it. It's not a square table. It needs a little length and it needs chairs at it. And you may want to put even place settings at it so that it's truly sort of like a restaurant. And so he has a sense of being more in a restaurant setting than in a home with one long table at Thanksgiving. So it's a way to think about starting that starts with the environment that supports what he's showing you and telling you, and then gives him a sense of how that might feel normal to him.
Yeah.
And it takes the risk for other residents out of it, but he's still visually present and physically present in the space. So he is not being isolated, but he's being given the space that he needs to be safe.
Yeah, no, definitely. That sounds, perfect. Thank you very much, Teepa.
Yeah, you're right. And the other thing I'm wondering about is, what is his down and in vision? Does he eat everything off his plate and then look around, or is he looking out and about most of the time?
He's usually not paying attention to his dinner. I mean, he picks at it, he usually chews it, puts it back on the plate. It doesn't matter if it's soft or hard. That just seems to be his new behavior.
Yeah.
So he's more interested in what's going on
socially.
Yeah.
So a couple of things to try. This might actually increase his intake is not having so many people to keep up with at the table and so much to keep up with at the table. But the other thing to do, as Amanda suggested, is to move the food, his own food, forward about 18 inches.
Okay.
So that it actually is further out in front of him, and he is actually reaching out to get his own food, so that when he's visually surveying, it's actually within his visual field. His own food is further out to the front of him.
Okay. And that makes sense now that you say that, because when he's seen the drink,
it's
you
his
know,
drink.
that was in his visual field, not the drink that was right in front
And
of him.
so
That
he
we were, yeah.
spontaneously has to go up and go get it because
Yeah.
it's too far away. Why the hell did you sit it over there, you idiots? It should have been sat right here.
And I'm sure that's exactly what he was saying to us.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
looking at moving the whole place setting forward before maybe you switch to another table, although the idea that he's so busy at that table, I still think it's too much going on at the table for him to handle. So
Well, and yeah, we have other residents that tend to be more grabbers too, which causes, you know, I love the idea of the different table. I think he personally would be happier, because the struggle is a lot of times he wants to eat in his room.
Yeah.
Because he's by himself.
He's just
and he can look out the
overwhelmed.
window. Yeah. So I think we'll definitely set him up his own table.
Yeah, and you might even have the table facing out the window then in the main space.
Yeah.
But he'd still have to have his back to a wall. I don't think he's comfortable enough to have his back exposed.
Actual, and right now it is to a wall. There's a cabinet behind him, so he's
That's one of the reasons he really likes that space too.
Yeah,
because it's a safe location.
Yeah. Okay.
Surveyors almost always want their back to a wall.
Wow. Yeah, these little things, like you don't think of it. When I hear you say it, I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the one other thing I do want to do with y'all is share an info sheet. And this is the traditional one, and it is in the PowerPoint. And whether or not you know it, there's a lot in the PowerPoint that I went over. You know, it's a resource for you. This is the traditional one. And many of you have seen our kind of info sheet like this. Here's what I want to show you though, and this is the second part. And the second part is very similar. But here's the amber sheet. So when I have somebody who's in an amber state primarily, I want to know, are there any times that they look emerald? Are there any times that they really look ruby? What is their language intake like? And what is their language output like? What is their social stuff seeking? What is their social stuff avoidance? What do they try to avoid, either socially or stuff wise? What's important, people or stuff for them? And tell me more about that. What's their purpose stuff that they do? What is something that gives them a sense of value and purpose? What are they doing that's giving them pleasure? Are there favorite or dislike meals, which means when they're eating, or meal types like breakfast, lunch, or dinner? What kind of foods do they either like or dislike? And what kind of drinks do they like or dislike? Cold, hot, certain flavors. Same thing with music and sounds. And then any religious or spiritual practices or habits that I want to know about. Any things things that we know irritate or bother them, and things that we know that calm or soothe. And then that idea again, emphasis, stuff, more or people, and then risk taking versus hesitant. And so that's part of what this information sheet is about. And this handout is just basically, you'll get it sent to you when you get everything from this thing sent. And it's been 4 hours. So I hope the time went by in a reasonable fashion for you. I hope that what you got was something you can use and feel like it helps you and gets you thinking outside of a box and staying sapphire and having new alternatives. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. So thank you all for being here. Thanks to my mentors, and thanks to everybody, and thanks to George, Norma, Mary, and everybody I've ever worked with. That has made a difference to me. So thanks, everybody.